Thank you for coming out here tonight. My name's Jim. We're going to get started at 7:02. We got a lot of excitement going on tonight, so let's get right to it. Kelly Lynn, can you help us with roll call, please?
Mr. Andreessen.
Good evening.
Mrs. Briscoe.
Here.
Mr. Bush.
Here.
Mrs. McMillan.
Here.
Mrs. Ost.
Here.
Mrs. Tunney.
Here.
Mrs. Zielinski.
Here.
Okay, let's go with Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Was doing the MES pledge?
I didn't hear the MES after part, or maybe the Rockets have one too. Okay. Sometimes in life we get to celebrate some really good stuff. Tonight's one of those nights. We get the pleasure of recognizing 5 amazing people in our community and how they contribute to our district and our children, and they deserve that celebration for all of their hard work. Kristen, would you like to help us with the Galaxy Award presentation?
Yes, I would. All right. So this evening, we are honoring our district's Galaxy Award winners from this past school year. For those who don't know, the Mokena School District Galaxy Award is a program that's specifically designed to recognize employees, community members, parents, students that go above and beyond in their accomplishments and their contributions to our school district. These awards are intended to celebrate truly exceptional accomplishments and contributions that were so impactful that they have changed the lives of others. We offer this program in partnership with the Mokena Education Foundation, MEF, as well as our PTA. So we appreciate their partnership in being able to recognize these outstanding Tonight employees. This year we have 5 winners, and tonight we will recognize each award winner for their accomplishments and contributions. I'll call each award winner up to the front, and he or she will receive their award from President Andreessen, and I will read a summary of the nominations that were provided to us. So each person was nominated by another employee, by a parent, by a student, and so I've taken those nominations and consolidated them into a nice summary that really captures the essence of why they were nominated. So we are going to start with Melissa Chevalier. Come on up. So I will read Melissa's as she awkwardly looks at me like, get me out of here. I know she loves being in the spotlight. Yes, with Miss, yep.
I did tell her that because I thought it'd be funny. And we're not really going to make her do it.
I did offer to come tell you had to give a speech too, but all right. So Melissa Chevalier is a dedicated educator at Mokena Junior High for over 21 years. Is a beloved teacher known for her lasting impact on students and her unwavering commitment to education. She started her career at the junior high fresh out of college, and she has remained loyal to our school and district while balancing the demands of family life, including raising her own daughters. In her early years, she was actively involved in extracurriculars such as POMs and Washington, D.C. trips. Even during the challenges of the pandemic, she brought energy and creativity to remote learning, earning praise from students for making virtual classes fun, engaging, and deeply connected. Known for her authenticity, humor, and thoughtful teaching, Melissa creates an environment where students feel heard, understood, and excited to learn. Her classes spark meaningful discussions and help students connect with literature in a way that's both accessible and memorable. Whether it's her ability to keep it real, as the nominator shared, her relatable approach, or the care she shows in getting to know each student personally, Melissa exemplifies what it means to be a great teacher. Mokena Junior High is fortunate to have her, and every student who enters her classroom has truly hit the jackpot. Thank you, Melissa. All right, next up we have Brittany Coker. So as Brittany receives her award, I will read a little bit about her and her nominators' information. Brittany is a dedicated Mokena employee as well as a resident and parent of Mokena. She is a passionate advocate for the special education community, and a valued contributor to our district. As a coach for softball and bowling at the junior high, a member of the building leadership team, and a member of our special education steering committee, she balances the many responsibilities while also managing care for her 3 sons. In 2023, Brittany led a successful fundraiser benefiting the Lincoln Way Special Recreation Association, organizing a wheelchair basketball game, securing donations from over 50 local businesses, as well as creating sensory-friendly activities, raising nearly $5,000. She also has facilitated LWSRA takeovers and PE classes across all 3 schools in our district, which has helped promote empathy and inclusion through adaptive sports. Additionally, Brittany has played a key role in planning Respect Week activities to foster acceptance and respect for all abilities, and annually organizes a water safety assembly sponsored by her family's foundation, educating students on crucial safety skills. Known for her loyalty, hard work, and kindness, Brittany consistently prioritizes students' well-being and community support, making her a truly deserving nominee for this year's Galaxy Award. Thanks, Brittany. Okay, next up we have Lindsay Robert. Lindsay is a 2nd grade teacher here at MES, and she was being nominated for the Galaxy Award in recognition of her exceptional care, compassion, and dedication to her students. One family has had the unique privilege of having her teach their daughter in both kindergarten and 2nd grade, witnessing firsthand the profound impact she has made on that child's academic and emotional growth. From organizing a special family event in kindergarten and creating personalized published books for each student, to offering individualized support and detailed, encouraging feedback in 2nd grade, Mrs. Robert consistently goes above and beyond. Her nurturing and patient approach has transformed their daughter's school experience. She now looks forward to school each day and has even been inspired to become a teacher herself. Among many wonderful educators at MES, Mrs. Roberts stands out as a truly remarkable and inspiring presence, making her a most deserving recipient of this special recognition. Congratulations. Dr. Rolanitis is our next recipient. All right, Dr. Rolanitis is the principal, soon to be retired in how many days? Okay, in 4 more working days. He has been a transformative leader whose dedication and vision has shaped the school into one of the top middle schools in the state. Over half his career has been spent at our junior high, where he has cultivated a positive, efficient, and supportive environment for both students and staff, leading with professionalism, humor, and an unwavering commitment. Dr. Rolanitis navigated the unprecedented challenges of COVID-19 with patience and flexibility, empowering his teachers to find their own way to succeed while prioritizing students' needs. Efforts that helped the school make academic gains when many other schools struggled. Known for his genuine care, he regularly supports student events and fosters a culture of excellence and well-being, encouraging staff to share their personal and professional good news. His leadership has left a legacy of trust, compassion, and high standards, making Mokena Junior High a truly unique and thriving community. Dr. Rolanitis is a deeply deserving nominee for the district's Galaxy Award with an impact that will shine brightly for years to come. Thank you. And our last award winner for this school year is Sharon Youngblood. Sharon, okay, I was going to say don't sit down yet. All right, I thought you were heading for your seat. Sharon is an instructional coach at Mokena Elementary and Intermediate Schools. She is a highly deserving nominee for the 2025 Mokena School District 159 Galaxy Award due to her exceptional expertise, compassion, and unwavering positivity. She is a generous and dedicated educator whose deep knowledge and commitment to the teaching profession have left a lasting impact on both students and staff. Sharon empowers other educators by offering individualized support, facilitating inspiring professional development, and consistently ensuring that teachers are well prepared and confident in delivering our curriculum. She has played a vital role in guiding multiple first-year teachers through the rigorous ELA curriculum, providing weekly support, lesson observations, and thoughtful feedback, all while serving as a reliable resource for the entire staff. Her influence extends beyond the district. Sharon has written and published an article, presented at a state conference, and collaborates with other instructional coaches in other districts. As a member of the Social Studies Committee, she has brought a student-centered approach, always prioritizing how materials would engage and benefit our learners. Sharon's generosity, innovative thinking, and tireless dedication foster a collaborative, growth-oriented environment where teachers feel valued and supported. Her positive energy is infectious, and her behind-the-scenes work drives real success in our classrooms. For these reasons and many more, Sharon Youngblood exemplifies the best in education and is truly worthy of this special recognition. At this time, I would ask all 5 winners to come up front for a group picture together, if you wouldn't mind. Okay.
Sure.
That's fine.
Let's give it up for it, guys. Now, how are we going to follow that up? In case you were wondering,
More ice cream.
there is ice cream left, but I think we got to do with the budget. Okay. Seriously, congrats on everything, and thanks for all you do for our kids. It obviously doesn't go unnoticed, and the nice thing is this has been going on for a number of years now, and more people want to be a part of it. And next year we're going to get a bunch of great nominations and keep growing the program from there. And I love that. So thank you for all you do. It makes a difference. Hearing 2025, Dr. Shaw. Oh, am I not? Oh, you know what? I thought that was after it. That's okay. Not trying to skip it. That's fine. That's on me. Yeah, public communication, Kelly Brown. Sorry, I thought you had a little bit more time, but you're up first. Pardon? Yes. Okay, before we get started with public communication, we have 7 speakers tonight. Let's go over a couple ground rules so everybody's treated fairly. We're happy you're here. We all want to listen. You have 3 minutes. Lincoln has a time clock over there. I'm trying to be kind. I'm not trying to be there with a hook, but let's all try to be kind to everybody as we're going through this. I think that's a fair ask. Kelly, when you're ready.
Thank you. My name is Kelly Brown. I'm a Mokena resident. Many of you know me, parent to kids in this district. I'm here tonight to comment on 2 issues. The first is live streaming and posted recordings of the board meeting. Transparency is one of the most important obligations that this board has to the community that elected it and that it serves. The issue of providing a live stream of board meetings and postings of those recordings on YouTube or your website so that community members may watch them live or after the meeting has been discussed but dismissed as unwanted or too expensive. Thanks to the hard work of Israel Smith, the community has had access to these board meeting recordings over the past year. Mr. Smith has confirmed that the equipment that currently exists in this room not only supports a live stream, but that posting the videos to YouTube has garnered thousands of views over the past several months. The analytics clearly show that there's a demand for this type of access to the Board of Education meetings and that community members are interested in participating and accessing this information. There are a myriad of reasons why people cannot attend a multi-hour in-person meeting during the evening, not the least of which is familial responsibilities to the same children that we serve. It's 2025, and there's no excuse for not making board meetings accessible to the public via live stream and videos posted to either the website or a YouTube channel. The lack of access to board meetings is extremely concerning as a community member. The second issue is the bus drivers. We are in need of 2 new bus drivers for the upcoming school year. My kid's bus driver retired. We're very sad about that. As of today, the job posting for these positions is only listed on the district's website. It's not on ZipRecruiter, Indeed, Monster, Illinois JobLink, or via the Will County Workforce Job Board. As the director of a workforce agency, this does not showcase a strong search. We'll never find the talent if we aren't taking advantage of all the resources available to us. I'm encouraging the district to reach out to the Workforce Center of Will County for assistance in filling these positions. Our region has the single largest workforce system in the nation. TDL is a high growth sector in our economy. The state of Illinois has prioritized and invested millions of dollars in CDL training, both through the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act and general revenue funds. The Workforce Center can assist in casting a much wider net in our district's search for new talent, all free of charge. As we welcome a new superintendent in the coming weeks, it's my hope that the board can figure out how to work together on this issue, give Mokena residents and students the transparency they deserve, and find our 2 new bus drivers. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. Amanda Archer. Good evening.
Hi. For those that don't know me, I am a paraprofessional for 13 years here at MES. And I wanted to say something tonight because I feel our voices are not being heard. I don't expect you to know or understand what happens here during school hours. Most people who work here all day don't even know what some of us do here. This job is exhausting. I want you to imagine having a 15-month-old child in a china shop for 6 hours every day. Your job is to not let anything break. Oh, and you cannot put your hands on the child. Impossible, right? Most of the time, I feel that we are expected to do the impossible. You turn to sip some water, and your student is cutting their hair, drawing on their face or their friend's face, or worse, hitting, kicking, scratching other students, flipping desks, throwing materials, running around the building, or out of the school. Many times, my skin has bled from being bit and scratched. I have been purposely punched and kicked in my private area, repeatedly slapped in the face, and punched in the nose. Changing a 6-year-old poopy diaper is another part of this job. It's so stressful constantly watching for seizures, making sure to catch them before they fall, holding them, reassuring them it's going to be okay, sometimes watching them gasp for air, unable to breathe. It saddens me that all of you can be appreciative to our faces, but behind closed doors, you're stabbing us in the back with the lack of support that your actions are showing us. I grew up in Mokena, attending these schools, and so did both my mother and my father. We live here in Mokena and pay taxes. The staff here deserve a living wage. That should not be unattainable. We have so many daily responsibilities taking care of Mokena's children. The taxpayers of Mokena deserve loving, caring, experienced, trained, competent people caring for their children. We will continue to lose good people if we are not appreciated and paid a livable wage. The most important thing I want you to take away from my statement is that I love these kids. Yes, even the ones who bite me and kick me and hurt me, because they have disabilities that they are still living to learn with at such a young age. And I'm at this job because I want to be. But if I can't pay the necessities to live, then that will force me to work somewhere else. Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda. Veronica Garcia. Good evening.
Hello. My name's Veronica Garcia. I'm a building aide here at MES. I love my hometown of Mokena and all of the schools in our district. All 4 of my kids attended Mokena Elementary, and I started subbing and volunteering here over 18 years. I became a building aide full-time 10 years ago. I work here because I love the school and all the great kids that have come through, some of whom I still keep in touch with. The reason I wanted to speak here today is to make known a very unfamiliar situation that reflects badly on our school. I've had health insurance here for 7 years. I have never had an issue. Of course, I rely on it as I am reliant on certain medications. The day before school ended this year, and one day before we were supposed to enroll, insurance for the upcoming school year, I was told they were taking it away from me on a technicality that I was short 5 hours on my time card. Not 5 hours a day, 5 hours for the whole year, without any warning at all, and without any documentation to back up the claim, and then forward, then it was provided. This was an obvious tactic to just take the insurance away, and the method in which it was done was nothing short of cruel, which was amplified by the attitude and words of our, HR Kim and Terry Shaw. I begged for me to keep my insurance, and I was told no. Even knowing that I rely on the insurance for life-saving medications and healthcare, as you know, our healthcare system is reliant on insurance through employment, and tactics such as these not only undermine the system but weakens our schools by forcing good aides out. We have recently lost a number of teachers and aides and even custodians to retirement or just resignation due to how they have been treated. And we need to take a hard look on how our schools are treating their employees despite what has happened to me. I still love our school and our community, and I will continue to do my best for the children of Mokena. Thank you for your time today.
Thanks for coming up. Sarah Gilden? Hello.
Hi. So my name is Sarah Golden, and I have 2 children in the district. I am asking today that the board consider to record the board meetings in the future and not attach any unnecessary costs to the decision. My perspective is unique and also valuable because I actually recorded the board meetings as a service to the community for a few years. I have a very detailed use case of the minimal effort and costs needed to complete this task. When I was providing this service, my biggest obstacle was prioritizing the time to do so. You have here in this room on a recurring basis the resources and the technology necessary to provide the recording to the community. Attaching unnecessary AV equipment costs appears to be a deterrent to accomplish this for the community. I encourage the board to reconsider this as an option, and regardless of your decision, I ask that the board optimize the current equipment that they have, provide sound quality checks prior to every meeting, ensure the microphones are on, and encourage board members to speak directly into the microphones. These small adjustments can actually greatly improve the sound quality every month. Next, I wanted to address some emails and some conversation that happened last month regarding the budget. At last month's board meeting, there was a discussion regarding amended budget and concerns from board member Kelly McMillan regarding the amended budget. During that conversation, it was suggested that Ms. McMillan was making accusations and the discussion became tense. Through my FOIA request, I read Ms. McMillan's email to the board with her concerns. What I did not find in that email were any accusations. I felt that the contents of that were reasonable, and I felt that the conversation was meant to, The decision to address those questions publicly, I felt was meant with the intention of embarrassing Ms. McMillan. The conversation was not to address her concerns, but to insinuate that her questions were accusations. When you treat questions with hostility and remove psychological safety from the board, you're discouraging respectful discourse. You're leaving the board vulnerable and dysfunctional. I lost my spot. Sorry. So I just encourage the board to allow those questions to be asked, address those questions, and to please be respectful to one another. Thank you.
Thank you. Aaron Ford.
Good evening. I am coming tonight as a parent, and to echo what Kelly and Sarah have also brought forward. I come to ask you tonight to start providing the services of recording the meetings. I ask you, would you rely on parents to provide janitorial services, food services, to drive buses, to instructor classes? The answer is probably no. I'm not sure why this is not something that we're not providing. It's archaic. To attach an unnecessary price on providing new microphones is a deterrent, like Sarah said. This has never come up before. Why is this being attached? Why can we not have transparency? This has been years that parents have been asking for this. So I urge you all to work together, to listen to the community, to look at the data that supports that there are parents who are watching these videos. I think it was 700 parents watched last month. The need is there. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Sarah Karras.
Hello.
Hi.
You guys have finally got me into a meeting. First of all, I'd like to start by thanking Kelly. And the reason why I'm going to thank you is because I love your questions. Unlike it seems like some of you guys, I don't understand the budgets. I don't understand the economics of it. I'm a massage therapist. I'm not even a college graduate. I went to a trade school. I don't understand about repairs and cost, estimates, budgets. But Kelly asked the questions. Kelly answers the questions. You guys answer the questions. It answers us for us and the recordings. It's really hard to come to these meetings when you are a parent, when you own a business, when you have a job. I rely on parent council and now Israel to watch these meetings, and I've been watching them for over a year. So I don't understand why now it's going to cost $30,000 for AV equipment, especially when they've been doing it and now Israel's been doing it, and the costs have been minimal, if not none. Another thing that I would like to talk about is budgets, deficits, not even much like that. Sorry, I lost my place. And I'm not going to lie, speaking in public freaks me out. So you guys have gotten me out of my comfort zone, and now I'm at about an 8 on the anxiety scale. Another thing is the budget, the deficit. So from what I get from watching the recordings of the meetings is that we're operating at a very high deficit. So why are we changing things now? Why are we now insourcing custodial when it's cheaper to outsource custodial? Why did we spend $160,000 on a shed? Why are we prioritizing things when there are other important things that need to be done? Why are we giving admin full benefits? I understand you guys are great and you guys need benefits. But as somebody who worked in corporate for 10 years, I had to pay into my benefits. The teachers have to pay into their benefits. They shouldn't be doing this. They're the ones who work with our kids. They're the ones who deal with all of the unnecessariness and the attitudes and the children and the tantrums. And they have to teach children that have trouble learning and catching things on, and they have to pay for their benefits. You know, I looked at the numbers and we're over $250,000 in covering admin benefits. There's ways, I mean, I'm not the brightest crayon, but even I know that you can budget and you can allocate funds and move things around to make things work. And for the fact that I bought my house in 2017 and my mortgage has gone up over $600 a month in the 7 years I've owned it, it tells me a lot. And with this budget, I'm concerned as a taxpayer, as a mother in the district. Who's going to pay for all this? Who's going to pay for things that are overlooked, things that are misquoted, things that are not fulfilled? You know, I heard about the leaky insulation in MIS, and now that's going to be postponed till 26. That's leaky insulation that can have other issues. Why are we not covering that? Why were we prioritizing $160,000 shed? Like, for a taxpayer and a parent in the district who doesn't understand this, it's not making sense. So thank you. I'm going to go take some deep breaths now.
You did just fine, by the way.
Oh, my heart says otherwise.
Well, I hear you. Israel, you're up.
Thank you, everybody. I'm Israel Smith. I want to start by thanking Dr. Rolanitis. Thank you for all the years you put in. And as I heard you were going to be here tonight, I was thinking about the good time we had last year. We were both recognized by the Illinois State Board of Education and got to have dinner with your family and my family, and it was a great time, and I really appreciate it. I also really appreciate your Friday updates, and I think you've been, those videos are really great examples, and you provide multiple layers of communication to get out to parents like me, and for those that seek it out and want that information. And I'd also like to highlight your band performance at the last band concert. If you haven't seen that, feel free to check that out. It was a big hit on my Facebook page. So, but again, you present your information to the people, and I think it was a great example, and it could be an example to this board, which is leading to the idea of the board recording the meetings. I've discussed this as a member of the finance committee, and I fully agree with Mr. Andreessen's comments that the quotes are incredibly expensive, and this is not the best place that the board should be spending its funds, especially when we have free options available. Lincoln told us in the finance committee that he could record them right now, no cost, and he'd be able to do it right away. The meetings can be recorded using the Google software that the meeting is being live streamed on tonight, and then uploaded to YouTube or another free streaming service. That would be a great start for us. And the idea of the time going into it, that once the meeting is over, a video file is downloaded that is dragged and dropped into YouTube, and it does it on its own. No babysitting required. Just go back, fill in a title, publish, and it's there for all the public to see. The last meeting I had published before midnight of the night of the meeting. So, again, I also want to thank Mr. Andreessen for making the points at the last meeting about how few people actually tune into these live streams. And that really highlights, when you look at the number of how many people are actually watching the YouTube videos, and I know I'm running short on time, it only highlights how important that is. As we said, there have been 28 recorded meetings. They had an average of 162 views, including 762 views at last month's meeting. I don't want you to spend $30,000 to record the meetings. I just want you to hit record. I know everybody can appreciate the sacrifices that parents make to stay involved and informed.
Thanks for coming out, Israel.
For example, the next vice president of the PTA, my
Israel,
lovely wife.
I asked for the 3 minutes earlier. Please, that's the rules. But thank you for coming out. I appreciate it. Dr. Shaw for the amended budget hearing.
Thank you. All right, so for our amended budget hearing, tonight, we've got the timeline. We had our information to the board. We had our tentative amended budget approval at May. We put it on display for 30 days, and the tentative is subject to change until we have the proposed. There were no changes from last month to this month. We put it on our website, and then we have our hearing scheduled for tonight, which is the opportunity for public input and comment, and then asking the board to approve the budget tonight. We will file it. We'll ask each of you to sign multiple copies to be filed with the Will County Regional Office of Education and the Will County Clerk, and then we submit the budget to the Illinois State Board of Education. So our budget is really driven by our fund balance policy between 33 and 65%. So we try to target having our fund balances at 33 to 65%. I want to take a second to recognize where we are with the financial profile score from the Illinois State Board of Education. So every year for the last 10, 11 years, Mokena's had the highest financial profile score from the State Board, which is the recognition. So the State Board of Education recognizes that Mokena is the highest level of financial score within the state. And then I have a couple slides on here that were the revenue from the original budget with our evidence-based funding increase. We had an elevating educators grant, and then just we had some increase in our transportation revenues. Some of our expense highlights, we have all of our collective bargaining agreements in this. And most of what we do is really, we're a people business. So most of what we have are our collective bargaining agreements, our salary and benefits for our people. This year, we also had our first and fifth grade Chromebook refresh. We buy all of our books out of Fund 10. And then I did want to highlight that we did have a purposeful spend down of over $1 million in our capital projects fund. So I'll talk a little more about that later. And then we purchased a couple school buses supported through our working cash fund. Some of the differences of the budget to the amended. So in the fall, we had our tentative budget, then to our proposed budget. And typically you have those 30 days to get feedback, make changes, and then you have a proposed. We did a lot of line item changes from the 1 month to the next, and then we ended up rolling back to our tentative budget. Just we had some communication with that. So we have more line item changes in this amended budget to our regular budget because of the fall, what we had happen in the fall with the budget being rolled back. So a lot of data points become available from the time you do your original budget to when you submit it in September. And that's part of why it gives you that flexibility to work through your regular budget through September. I did want to point out that I put on the line item that the amended budget's required if there's a 10% increase in expenses in any one fund. The school code actually says 10% increase in the aggregate. So the aggregate is actually all of the fund revenue and expenses together. I do have a couple points in here of where I will recognize that I made a mistake. So there's a couple points in here that I'm going to point out, and this is one of them. It should have said in the aggregate instead of in expenses only. So that's one. And part of why we go through the amended budget process is about greater transparency. So the amended budget process allows me to pretty much communicate with all of the administrators in the room about what does your building budget look like? What does your department budget look like for each of the different administrators through the district? So we keep engaged in those conversations and keep those budgets in front of people. It also allows me to present the budget and the amended budget to the finance committee and to the board and to the public to say, this is what our budget looks like. So part of this process isn't requirement, it's about transparency and increasing transparency and keeping this budget in front of people. Then the final line item is that the total difference between our original and our amended, based on changes just to the budget expense, is 1%. So there's not a lot of bulk to it, but there were some line items that were adjusted. This is just a look at our budget 25 summary. So this was the original budget summary, and then this is the original screen on the tentative amended budget. what I want to point out is that in the bond and interest fund, under revenue, it says 580,000 and expenses at 563. Well, I made a typo in that line item. There's 3 different data points in here. There's the State Board of Education, which everybody has a copy of the State Board of Education budget. There's our Skyward data, which everybody gets that financial report every month. And then this is one that is mine. And so I actually typed these numbers in, and I did make a typo. I typed 233, and it should have said 244,500, which is the line where it says the working cash, 244,500. I needed to put that as part of paying off those buses, and I typed 233 instead of 244. So that was a mistake that I made. So this is the original screen where it says 563. Here's the updated screen where it says 554. So anyway, this is an updated part of the amended budget. So I also want to point out that in the tentative amended budget, we've kind of talked a little bit about what does that deficit look like. So in the over-under column, we do have a deficit budget. And then in the far right, we have a percentage of balance to annual expenditures. And in the education fund, part of what happened this year is this is the first year we actually have it's called a lump sum payment with our teacher contracts, where we pay our teachers out on June 30th rather than carrying it through. So we usually have 26 payrolls in a year, but this year we have 29. So that number increased because of those additional payrolls. So we did need to increase this line item number. And so we also know that inside the education fund, through our finance committee and through years of working through these budget, we do have contingencies, and we have some additional line items that are over what we do actually expect to spend in case we have some high need students that move in the district, or we have a need for extra staff, or we have some kind of catastrophic event where we need to spend some money. So we do, in practice, budget very liberally for expenses and very conservative on revenue, knowing that a 7-year average that we come in at 95% of what we have budgeted in expenditures. And when we have a $20 million budget and we're talking about 5%, that's $1 million. So we know that some of that is what we do in practice and in theory and in our philosophy of how we budget. The next line item with the O&M, there's a slight deficit, and some of that we know that we're going to be under. We just have additional money in there, and at the end of the day, and I'll show you, well, the O&M fund typically comes in. The O&M referendum money, in the very first column, that's our audited beginning fund balance. If you look at O&M referendum money with $1,063,000, that means we didn't spend all of the money that we had in there last year, and we have this money left over. So part of the O&M referendum directive from the board is the community supported us for warm, safe, and dry, repairs, renovations, spend the O&M referendum money. So we take in $2 million this year, and we budget some of the projects that were also budgeted last year. They're also in this year because we didn't spend them. Our budgets are based on a cash basis. There's 2 different types of accounting practices in school funds accounting. There's a cash basis and an accrual basis. We use a cash basis, so it's actually what's in your bank account at 6/30. So if we didn't spend $1 million on a project last year, one, it wasn't complete. Last year, 2 years ago, we had a stone quarry strike where we couldn't do some of our projects. Or if the contractor just didn't finish the project or the punch list to our satisfaction, we don't pay them. So we have $1 million deficit in this account, but we also have $3 million in this account with $2 million in revenue. So you do have $1 million deficit in this account, but it brings you to a zero, which is where we are supposed to be. I hope that helps explain some of what that deficit is about. And then in our IMRF Social Security, we also have a deficit. We levied purposefully less in that account because we wanted to bring down some of that fund balance because we were high in that fund balance. And then working cash is our savings account. And then we really don't use the tort fund or the life safety fund. So at the end of the day, our percentage balanced annual expenditures we're at 49%, and the goal is to be between 35 and 65%, which it's just about right in the center. So that's the little bit about the deficit budget, why it exists. We are operating under a cash-based system of accounting, and we are ending up right at 49% when we're all in. This is a screen with the budget to the amended difference, and so you can see that the difference in revenue is just under 3%, and the difference in expenses is just over 3%, with the net at just about 1%. And then this is the updated one with the 554 instead of 563, which didn't change the 1.16. The budget to amended difference. So the black indicates a higher fund balance. The ed fund had increase in revenue. A lot of it was in the special education department. Some of those grants have to be done by July 1st for the following year. And then we actually work through those amendments. We get the final ISB approval. And a lot of it just kind of depends on what we've got going on through the year. So we did have some increase in expenses, significant increase in expenses, and some increase in corresponding revenue. And some of those grants for this year, still those final amendments just came through this month. That was the biggest part of the education fund difference is special education. Anytime that you've got some kids, high needs kids move in or move out, that can swing pretty significantly. And then in our O&M fund, we did have a positive, and we had an increase in our interest earned because we had that extra $1 million collecting interest. Interest rates are high right now, so we had some extra interest income. We did receive I think it was an $89,000 ComEd incentive check from our chiller project. And then we wrote for a $50,000 grant, and we received a $50,000 grant. And then in our O&M fund, we did some line item adjustments, small change. And then in our transportation fund, we did have an increase in our special ed contract by $100,000, repair to the fire panel at $27,000. We also had an increase in our revenue on the transportation side, an extra $100,000. And when we got that information, it was the 1st of August. So it's in the amended budget. It wasn't in the original budget. And then we did a lot of line item adjustments, cleaning up some of the IMRF Social Security changes as we're prepping for our Skyward transition, Skyward Financial. We are just going through a lot of the different line items. Where does our money come from? We get 84.4% of our money local from the community. We get about 9% from the state, less than 5% from federal. And this year we did issue a working cash, which we used as a bond and interest fund clean out and used to purchase the 2 buses and 2 new buses. And where does our money go? Like I said, we are a people business. So the majority of our budget goes to salaries and benefits and purchase services. Purchase services is a line item that is about us paying for services. So that's also about people. So the big chunk of our budget is just about people. We do have 8% in supplies and material for things that cost less than $500. And we are very fortunate that we are able to have such a healthy capital projects budget. And that is all about the referendum money in Fund 21, which generates about $2 million a year. And you can see on this line item, it's $3 million because this is the year that we have that $1 million deficit in capital outlay. Other objects include our debt payment and our special ed tuition, which is very weird, but they're both listed under the 600 object code. And then non-cap equipment for items that cost between $500 and $5,000. This is our fund balance. So you can see in our fund balance, we try to stay between 35 and 65%. And over the last 9 years listed, you can see that in 2016 it's 79%, which was high. In 2017 it dropped to 63, and then it stays. And in 22 was the year that we actually did have the stone quarry strike, and you can see orange is the biggest part of that, and that was our O&M fund. And then in 2023, we had a purposeful spend down, which is very similar to this year where we had capital projects where we needed to spend some Fund 21 money. And in 24, our audited fund balance left us at 65%. This is a revenue, expenditures, and fund balance. The blue is our fund balance, and you can see that it's been kind of steady. In 2016, it had a spike because the board issued bonds to do the chiller project here at MES. And then the last few years, the fund balance has been pretty steady around 15 million, going up to 16 million, 17 million in 22 and 23 and 24. So you can see those last 3 years that the fund balance has went up, even operating under a deficit budget, because part of that philosophy of that deficit budget is that we know that we've got contingencies built into that deficit budget. And the last 7 years, we've spent about 95% of the budget and not 100%. So you see that the fund balance has been very steady. How are we doing? So every March, we take a look at our financial projections. We stay between 33 and 65. And then the FY26 budget process will start next month. This was shown, this last screen was shown in March. Every March, we do 5-year financial projections. We do dives into each of the different funds. This was the aggregate. And this was also based off the original budget. The tentative budget would make it look a little different. Every year it looks a little different. Every year we do it. Every year that I put a 5-year financial projection, I include the historical. So you can see what it looks like from 2018 all the way through this year, depending on what the budget looks like in the beginning and where we actually end. Each one of these graphs, like for example, in the education fund on the far left, starting with the green and working your way right to the yellow, each one of those represents 5 years of history and 5 years of future. And then the middle is the actual this year's budget. So the history is actually what happened. That's our AFR. So when you take a look at our AFR of what actually happened, you can see in 2020, we were at 13.6, dropped to 13.5, up to 17 in 22, the year of the stone quarry strike. We didn't do our projects. And then in 23 and 24 at 16.1 and 16.5. This year, we do have a projected deficit. Part of that is because we have increased fund balances and we're purposefully spending down that deficit in order to get between the 33 and the 65% guidelines. That was a lot. It was.
Part of this, the audience, has questions about this subject. Can you put where, I don't know,
Public comment more than public questions. Okay. Okay.
I don't know if the board has any comments about this.
Okay, bear with me. I took some notes here. So I feel it's necessary because this is not easy stuff. This is, and I have learned in the education space that it you all do things weird, you know. So I one, just appreciate the patience and grace being shown by all of my my questions. Some of them maybe not deemed good questions by some, but Terry does her best to walk me through. I feel like each year I get a little bit better, but I hear the folks that see a $2 million deficit. I think that a few things that I wanted to point out is that I think that is very well explained by that 1 million leftover O&M, and with the additional increases in some expenses that, you know, especially when they're regarding special services, special ed, you don't know. And I think that that is addressed. Now, whether we needed to file an amendment or not, it's actually a moot point because we were going to do it anyway for transparency. And catching that it was aggregate and not just expenses in the fund really did away with that ever being an issue at all. I mean, we had to deal with different issues, dealing with the rollback of the budget and then having to recapture the line items. Let's see. We ended 49%, well within the 33 to 65%. The ed fund changes you highlighted were significantly less than 10%. Overall was at 1.3. This is a budget. No, it's not actual. That was really hard for me to understand. We do get to the actuals and then those actuals are used to start for the next budget process. So, knowing that we conservatively estimate the revenues and liberal estimates on the expenses, I think I said that properly, really helped me understand how we approach things. We may have things higher at the beginning for our expenses, but we need to be ready for those adjustments. So when folks look and see this $2 million deficit, like I did, and I asked questions as well, I think that there is a reason for them, and it was well explained, and I just appreciate the grace and patience that this person not in the education space that you're showing me, but I feel like I'm getting better. But I just wanted to point that out and just thank you for your efforts.
Just got a quick comment. So, I fully understand, some of the questions from the public. I don't understand, school budgeting, cash basis versus accrual accounting. Not everyone's a CPA like myself, so people don't geek out about this kind of stuff like I do. But I get it. I used to audit school districts, so I used to audit, a lot of economics. That used to be like, not to confirm, but I used to be that. So I get the finance. And to Terry Shaw's defense, for the past 8 years that I've been on the school board, every year, same question, and she knows it's coming in the fall. I ask her, what is the true operating deficit of the budget? Because if you look at that $1.9 million that's up there right now, it's not the true operating deficit of the thing. It's a big number, and it can scare people, and I acknowledge that. And every year we say, hey, we got to communicate this because it's not. You did a great job of explaining the, Fund 21, the referendum money. I mean, who could have predicted a stone quarry strike that didn't allow us to finish the parking lot? Dr. Rolanitis would have loved to have that parking lot done a lot sooner, but there was no gravel to do it. So that parking lot got done in July and August. Maybe it was a couple days before school, a couple days after school. Yeah. Okay, yeah. So that shifts a whole fiscal year in the budgeting world. So when you look at that, you got to it's cash basis, right? And anyone that works in the business, they don't do that. You do accrual accounting. Where I work, we do accrual. We would accrued that expense ahead of time. But at school districts, we just don't do that. So, so for the folks that get nervous about that number, stay tuned because this fall I'm going to ask the same darn question, and we're going to roll it back, and we're going to try to get there. Some of the things that we've done that have caused deficit fund balances that people don't quite understand, I don't think, is we have been recently buying our school buses because we have the money. You buy a school bus, it can last for 10 years, maybe even longer. Before we were leasing those buses, you lease them, you got interest expense, and you got to turn them back in after 5 or 6 years to turn around and lease another one with interest expense on it. So sometimes deficits could be good in the sense that in the long run, we're going to save ourselves, not in year 1 or 2, but in year 4, 5, and 6. When we don't have a lease expense, we just have a bus that all we're doing is maintaining that bus in year 6, 7, 8, 9. The taxpayers of this community win because we are now using our money instead of paying interest on a bus lease. We're putting it back in the classroom or something else that we can do. Salaries, benefits, something that's not doing that lease. So another thing I'd like to mention that something that Dr. Shaw, I've been doing this for 8.5 years, I guess now, but something that predates Dr. Shaw, this budgeting process, when they talk about, estimating expenses super high and revenue super low, the predecessor before Dr. Shaw would have $2 and $3 million deficits every year. And then we come out $200,000. And I was like, what is going on here? We did it by 2 years. And finally, we said, no, the mandate that we gave Dr. Shaw, the previous board, was tighten things up. Don't put these you can put some placeholders in there, but you're not going to put $1 million placeholders in the ed fund. You're just not going to do it. So it's tightened things up. So thank you, Dr. Shaw, for doing that. Obviously, things come up. You saw that on the, special ed. Special ed is expensive. And you just don't know when students go in and out of the district. And if you get students in the district, it's going to be expensive. And you can see there, it contributed about $300,000 or $400,000 to our deficit that we weren't anticipating. We're not going to turn those students away, but you also got to realize that that's going to cause a deficit because you just can't turn those students away, and we're not going to. So there are reasons why there are deficits. Hopefully that explains some things to some of the folks that were questioning deficits. But again, this fall we're going to have another budget, and I already know Dr. Shaw is going to, first thing we're going to say is what's the operating, because we're going to peel back some of those one-time expenses to get to what that is. And that's what the community should focus on, not necessarily that $1.9 million number.
Thank you, Eric. Kelly, go for it.
Okay, I'm going to try to go as quick as possible here. And I just want to make sure that there's 2 times prior to today that the board should have dug into this budget. The first time was at the Finance Committee meeting in May, and the second time was last month. I will remind everybody that I submitted questions at the Finance Committee meeting. They were not answered. I submitted questions last month. I tried to have discussion last month. It was shut down. And it seems like, and maybe I'm wrong, but it seems like in that presentation we just saw, there was new information that was not previously brought to the board before this moment, and that is inappropriate. So I want to just remind everybody of that. Now, what I'm going to get into here, I want to be very clear. I'm addressing my fellow board members, okay? This is not meant to have a question and answer session. I've already made a decision on where I stand, but I want to make sure that the board members, we have a duty in this exercise, in the budget process. We have a duty. That duty is not the duty of the administration. It's different. That duty is not the duty of the auditors. It's different. We as a body have a unique duty in this process. And so that is why we don't have a superintendent right now. I have no one to address except my fellow board members. So I want to make sure that you guys know where my issues are. I've tried to bring these up. None of it was addressed. So I'm going to ask Dr. Shaw if you could go back to the slide that says tentative amended budget. And I think there's a new slide and there was one, and I'm looking in board book. Which one is the new slide that we don't have, and which one is the one that we have?
Where it says updated, that's the new one, and the one previous is the original screen that you have in board book.
Okay, so does everybody, Terry, does everybody have this at their desk? Right here? Okay, so if the board can pull out this is the State Board of Education budget form. And if we go to page 4, and we're looking at this slide here. When I go to page 4 and I look in the middle of the page, it says estimated ending fund balance. If I look at column E, on the ISB budget form, the estimated balance is $329,518. When I look at this, bond and interest fund, estimated or ending fund balance is $564,810. So I'm looking at the slide that's up for public inspection, up for board. The ending fund balance in bond and interest fund is $564,000. When I look at the ISB budget form, it says $329,000. If I go to transportation fund is F. I go down to the middle of the page, it says estimated ending fund balance, $234,786. If I look right here on this slide, it says transportation fund ending balance, $479,286. There are inconsistencies between what is submitted to the state and what is presented to the board. Now, that is further exacerbated by our financial reports in Skyward, and I have tried to address this for a month and a half. If you look at our financial reports currently in board book, our expenses, revised budget, $29,123,000. Right here, it's saying 28 million. There's a blue. You see where it says 28,890, what is that? 898,079. Our financial reports in Skyward, the bottom line says our expenses, according to our revised budget, is $29,123,000. So our financial reports are saying that there's hundreds of thousands of dollars discrepancy between okay, I'm not a CPA, but the finance that I do, numbers tie, okay? And I have questioned this. I get shut down, and so this is why, and now we're getting new information. I don't understand it, but this is beside the point. I'm going to move on. I just wanted the board to see what I see. Now, the second thing is that, so here's the analogy. I lease a car. My car payment that I signed a contract says I'm going to pay $1,000 a month. My budget for the year is $12,000. There's no way that I'm going to pay Toyota $20,000 for a contract that I signed for $12,000. We're not going over budget because we know we're spending $1,000 a month. There are controls in my household that prevent me from paying Toyota $20,000 for something that my contract says I owe $12,000. Those are financial controls. We have a board policy 4.8, and I'm going to read you an excerpt. Internal controls. The superintendent is primarily responsible for establishing and implementing a system of internal controls for safeguarding the district's financial condition. However, the board, will oversee these safeguards. That is us. That is not the auditors. That is us. I'm going to go to the auditors, though. The auditors. Look at the auditor report. This is a management report that we received on the audit from, my book is dated June 30th. This letter is dated September 24th. Here's the part. Responsibilities of management. Management is responsible for the preparation of fair presentation of financial statements. Management is also responsible for the design, implementation, and maintenance of internal controls relevant to the preparation of fair presentation of financial statements, free from material misstatement, which there's mistakes. Misstatement, to me, it's the same thing, whether due to fraud or error. That's management's responsibility. That is not the auditor's responsibility. The auditor, however, goes further to say in a specific letter. The whole title of the letter is called Report on Internal Controls. Report on Internal Controls. In planning and performing the audit, we considered the district's internal controls, but not for the purpose of expressing an opinion on the effectiveness of the district's internal control. According, we don't express an opinion on the effectiveness of the district's internal controls. They aren't looking at it, okay? This whole letter that we received in September, they don't look at internal controls. I'm going back to the board policy because this is important. Okay, here it is. The superintendent or designee shall annually audit the district's financial and business operations for compliance with established internal controls. What I'm talking about is the scenario where we're not sending Toyota $20,000 for something that should be costing us $12,000. There's got to be mechanisms in place to prevent that. When we had the playground project, we went over budget on the installation, okay? It was over $200,000 over budget. That was not realized until a year after that money was paid out. So the question is, if we had internal controls, why would we have paid $200,000 more for the installation a year ago and not realized it until the project was at closeout? It's our board's responsibility to check and make sure that the board may from time to time engage in a third party to audit internal controls in addition to the annual audit. Our annual audit does not audit internal controls. Our auditor does not look at it. They state so in their letter more than once. We have numerous policies, 4.8, 4.10, 4.3, that say it's our responsibility to monitor the administration, the superintendent, who we don't have, to make sure that there's internal controls. This is something I've been asking, Julie and I have been asking this for 2 years. Most recently, I've been asking for 2 months. But this has been ongoing and it's still not answered. So people like to say questions are asked and answered, but they're not. Okay, the answers are not provided. So I think that it's time, I question veteran board members, have we ever audited internal controls? I've seen nothing. Oh, I want to point out one more thing here. From the audit last year, this is the management letter that we received. Prior recommendations. Now, this is the letter that they did from the audit fiscal year 24. But what they're saying here is these are recommendations that they had made the prior year for fiscal year 23. And item number 3 is called funds over budget. Previously, and during our current year-end audit procedures, we noted that the following funds had excess of actual expenditures over budget for the fiscal year. The recommendation, we recommended last year, which is now 2 years ago, we recommended the district investigate the causes of funds over budget and adopt appropriate future funding measures. Status, the comment has not been implemented and will be repeated in the future. So our auditors are not looking at the financial controls. They have made prior year, 2 years now in a row, that they are talking about funds over budget. You have board members trying to fulfill the duty that we have, not only by our own policy, but by school code, that we have to monitor to make sure this stuff is happening. I feel like we have, there's flux in our superintendent, which creates another safeguard that is effectively not there. So my suggestion is, I think that we should enlist our auditor to do this financial control audit. I don't know that it's ever been done, but it seems like it should be. And I want to make sure, if I could take one breath here, that I touched upon everything I wanted to touch upon. Oh, my only last thing is that this auditor wrote this letter and said it was weird because it said that he was answering questions submitted by the board members related to the audit, but this is just completely misdirected because my questions weren't related to the audit. All my questions, as I said in my email, was all about this amended budget. So, we have, when you look at the detail, we have 84 line items that our current expenses are higher than what we are saying we are budgeting. So nobody has a crystal ball, but surely we know that the budget should be at a minimum what we have already spent. That seems, it should go without saying, but I don't know. So it would have been nice that we used the finance committee meeting or last meeting when these discussions should have happened to the benefit of the board so that this didn't happen the same day that we're supposed to approve. But, with these unreconciled, undiscussed, unanswered questions, I will not be voting in favor. And I hope the board will enlist the auditor to formally make financial controls a part of the audit and encourage that these outstanding issues from 2 years ago in the audit get addressed. Thank you.
Thank you. Couple points. Lease is a static number. It will not change. ComEd loves changing my bill every month. We all know that. We do have a superintendent. He's not at the meeting. I'm not going to talk about a person's personal life. We have a superintendent. I'm going to leave right there. We are getting exemplary ratings on our financials. We have passed our audits. And quite honestly, a budget is a best case guess in an uncertain environment where we have people that are joining our district and we are taking care of them. And we have a fund balance guideline for that reason. So we are not sitting on too much cash, but we are not spending through it too fast either. We are within the margins of that policy. That being said, do we have any other questions for tonight regarding the budget? Okay, that being said, I would like to call for motion to close the hearing. With Julie, seconded by?
Second.
Anna. Kelly Lynn, could you help me with the roll call vote, please?
Mrs. Zelinski,
Yes.
Mr. Andreessen,
Yes.
Mrs. Briscoe,
Yes.
Mr. Bush,
Yes.
Mrs. McMillan,
Yes.
Mrs. Ost, Mrs. Tunney.
Okay. Thank you for everyone for sharing your opinions. Okay. Presentations, school improvement plans.
Okay, well, we'll go ahead and start. Our school is first. We are continuing our goal of increasing writing proficiency, which is a 3-year goal at MES. So we are in year 2. We're just finished year 2. So our goal is for students to increase writing proficiency as evidenced through the end of unit writing assessment rubrics and report card data. And you can see there our action steps. And I clarified in bold what now K and U on the rubric charts on the next slide is knowledge and understanding, which is reading comprehension. Let me go back. That's okay. Organization and purpose is the way that the writer organizes their thoughts and clearly communicates the purpose of their writing. And evidence and elaboration is stating evidence and discussing why that evidence proves what they are saying. So I want to make sure that we have that clearly explained. Okay, now you can go. So our writing rubrics, this year I organized these a little bit more succinctly than I did last year. Our students are definitely progressing in their, I'm sorry, I just messed up my own slide, in their writing. Sorry, trying to look at this in my board book. So for each grade level that's listed, you have different modules, and it says underneath what those modules are. So it's the type of writing that the students were producing at the time, and it's consistent. Each module is consistent across all the grade levels. So Module 1 was an informative piece, Module 2 was a narrative, Module 3 was another informative piece, and then Module 4 is an opinion piece. So within those pieces, the types of skill sets that we were looking at, the standards, are consistent across all three, which is that knowledge and understanding, organization and purpose, and evidence and elaboration. So you can see kindergarten, as a reminder, kindergartners are just beginning to really organize their thoughts. The standards are writing standards, but it really relies on students to be able to organize their thoughts and perhaps using those language skills, or either communicate them, have them dictated. They could draw their thoughts, or they can, if they're ready to write, they can start writing. So it gives a great wide developmental range for written output. So our students will tend to perform better in kindergarten because they're just not just letting them. The expectation is that they're going to put their output in whatever way they can, wherever they are developmentally. So that being said, evidence and elaboration continues to be an area that we need to focus on across all the grade levels. As you see, first grade as well. Our students do really well with knowledge and understanding, which shows that they're understanding what they're reading. And they do really well with organization and purpose, but that evidence and elaboration piece tends to be where we continue to struggle. So it's finding the evidence. It's not just finding the evidence, but then using that evidence to make the case for what they're saying. So you want to make sure that we are supporting them with that piece. So kindergarten, it did really well. First grade, the standards changed, the expectation, the standards. So you can see that first module was a bit of a struggle. That's because the standard eliminates dictating and drawing. So now no matter where those students are, it is strictly writing. And that's just a shift for them at their expectations. And so that first module, this is the second year in a row that first module, the students performed not as well as later modules. They just needed to adjust. And then second grade, the standards begin to, like smaller details, more an increase in expectations are slighter, are slight, but then going into third grade is really where you see the big jump in the expectations. And so the demands for the students, that rigor and that cognitive demand increases significantly. And so they're adjusting to those increased demands. So I had a parent reach out to me asking me about third grade, and I'm glad that they did. I love to be able to explain things to parents. It's not that our third graders aren't performing well, it's they're adjusting to the rigor of the standards. So as they continue, and because this is our second year using EL, and our students, this group of students just started in second grade. They did not, like our math curriculum resource, they did not have the benefit of starting in kindergarten and then building from kindergarten to first to second to third. So I think that as our students, we continue down the road, we should anticipate that we'll see a shift in that for third graders. And then going on to the next slide, thank you. Our report card writing standards, you'll see then based on the opinion pieces, informative or explanatory pieces, and narrative writing pieces, how our students are performing. And that supports exactly what I just said in terms of how our students are adjusting to those increased expectations and those standards. Okay, next slide. Then this year we focused on responsive teaching, which is being more responsive more immediately to students' needs. In the moment, we were using win time for that. We taught students how to build their stamina, their reading stamina. We taught them what to be able to do independently so that teachers can work with small groups at a table to be able to either extend and enrich or intervene and support. And so the first trimester, we focused on increasing their stamina. We integrated a writing component as well to help support that writing piece. So students weren't only reading, but they were writing what they were writing about what they were reading. And that was tied to the curriculum. So whatever they were working on in the classroom, then we just carried that over into their writing. It went really well. One thing that we noticed, I think you can go on to the next slide, is that there was a kind of like a not a consequence, but it impacted tier 2 instruction. Our tier 2 instruction went from 4 days a week to 2 days a week. We did adjust and increase as students needed a more intense intervention. That was one of the ways that we adjusted, but that flexibility, we realized that we really need to provide students with more time in that tier 2 instruction. So what our BLT will, next steps that they will take is to explore how we can integrate that responsive teaching into the regular instructional block of time, not just in WIN, because WIN time will focus on our advanced learners and we'll focus on that differentiation and that extension. That's it for me. Anybody have any questions?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Remember to turn the mic on. So I wanted the clicker so I could kind of go through it. But we had 2 goals as well. This is year 2 of our math writing for using the CER structure. This year we increased it to multi-step problems. So there's at least 3 steps for our CER questions, our problems, which came from Eureka Math as well as from IAR released test items. And we use both of those interchangeably. Some very tough problems for the kiddos. They did a great job. Our action steps, we just continued the instruction on the process. We had a renewed focus on vocabulary that the students were using. We had word walls in all of our classrooms. Weekly writing assignments, or not assignments, writing opportunities for our students. We had daily CER discussions. Even if they weren't writing about it, they were discussing it within the classroom. Feedback from both from teachers and from peers frequently throughout the rooms. Our staff, for every writing collection, our staff would bring samples and they would collaboratively rate the samples so that we made sure that we were all on the same page. And then formally collect the information. Happy to say that we did accomplish all of our action steps as we were working through it. I'm going to show you a lot of numbers, a lot of graphs. The one thing to remember, green is good. So for CER, we had a rating scale from 0, 1, 2, or 3. 3s are green. So the more green you see, the better. So for our first is 4th grade. From fall, this is just for claim, the C section. From fall to winter to spring, nice increase in the green. This is the evidence. The evidence is the piece they're actually solving the problem. They're telling us what they did. They're working out the problem, whether it's using charts and graphs, using a standard algorithm. The evidence is solving the problem. Again, a good jump in green. And then for reasoning, this was a big part of our focus this year. That was one thing that we found our kiddos struggled on last year. So we had focused really on this reasoning piece. And you can see the green increased. Remember, green is good. So fourth grade had good jumps for all three of our data collection pieces. Fifth grade, I'm sorry, and this is the big picture. I know that was a lot of little graphs, now one big graph. So this is just showing how we increase throughout the year. So the blue is in the fall, the yellow is in the spring. So you can see things are steadily on the rise throughout this past school year. A little glitch with the claim, but you know that when you're talking about those smaller numbers, it's 1 or 2 students, and that's something we can easily hit on using our intervention time. Fifth grade, same thing, going through fall claim, winter claim, and spring claim. Remember, green is good. So the more green we see, the better. For evidence, answering the problem. We saw another hiccup here. For the spring evidence, we used a more challenging problem. So it was the scores came down just a little bit. So that's something we can adjust for next year, something that we can definitely take this information and apply it to next school year. And then reasoning, maybe. Oh, so reasoning for fifth grade, again, green is good. So we saw an increase in the scores, the ratings of 3 throughout the school year. Again, lots of small graphs, just the one big picture. You can see there's a steady increase from fall to winter with that one little hiccup of evidence from winter to spring. But that gives us something to work on. It gives us some good data for discussion within teacher meetings, our content time. So great opportunity for some collaboration for that. Year-to-year comparison for fourth grade. The blue is last year, the red is this year. Went down a little bit with claim. Again, great opportunity for growth there. Some great things that our teachers can collaborate on. But evidence jumps, reasoning jumped from last year to this year. Then fifth grade comparison as well. Had a little bit of dip in evidence, but everything else is on the rise. So that is our first goal for CER writing. Our second goal was writing in ELA. Using EL education, looking to just increase our proficiency. Our action steps, common pieces for formal assessments our teachers went through. We used the same formal assessments for data collection that we last year to this year, so we had lots of opportunities for comparison and for discussion. We shared exemplars with students, so we showed them what a good writing piece looks like. This is what it looks like. These are some things that you can do. A renewed focus on vocabulary. We had word walls for math. We also had word walls for ELA. Frequent feedback. The kids are always working together. Kind of neat. They're doing it on Google Docs so they can comment on each other's pieces, electronically, which is really pretty cool when kids are talking across the room on the computers. Great opportunity, not just for the collaboration, but just the whole real world experience. Staff collaboratively evaluate student work. Same thing. Our ELA teachers bring writing pieces. They rate it individually. They talk about the ratings, trying to get that that consistency, and then the collection opportunities throughout the year. We're able to get through all of that. Now, this is a lot of numbers. I'm just telling you, but I will bring it all back together again. So for fourth grade, this is comparison for Module 1 informative piece from last year to this year. I highlighted this year in yellow so it's easier to see, but as you can see, the numbers went up for Module 1, went up for Module 2, went up for Module 3. You're going to notice for 23-24, we don't have scores just because we didn't get to it last year. With the new implementation, we just didn't get as far as we wanted to, so we don't have that comparison, but we will have it for next year. But as you can see, all the numbers definitely look great. Our students did a great job. Our teachers did a great job. And then looking at fifth grade as well. The reading comprehension, our categories, I should have mentioned this, are very similar to what MES has, except our first category, instead of knowledge and understanding, it's reading comprehension. But the same, the 3 categories, that way we can use them for comparison. Module 2, informative, went up. Module 3, opinion went up. And then Module 4, opinion went up. And when you're looking at upper 90s for students meeting and exceeding, that's pretty good. You know, that means our kiddos are really doing a great job with this. Our teachers are really doing a great job with this as well. Now, comparing year to year, the blue is last year, the red is this year. Again, great jumps. You know, everything is moving in the right direction for our 4th grade. Everything is moving in the right direction for 5th grade. Even if we have those little blips in there, little, you know, where we don't see as much growth from beginning of the year to end of the year, we see that positive movement. And that is all that I have. Any questions for me?
Okay, moving on to junior high. So as you know, we are in our 4th year with our CER application. A lot of what is in our goal for this year was about making our writing better, just becoming better writers. Really fit well with our transition to Study Sync, but it didn't always reflect with our CER data collection. So I'll show you our data here real quick. We go on, we kind of plateaued this year, and we have a 3-point scale, so it's between 1 and 3. So we got up to the 2.5 to 2.4 range in most everything. If you look at 6th grade in the winter, we only took 2 data collections this year, and technically it went down a little bit, but it's negligible. The differences between the winter and the spring. It also could be that we took the spring data collection the 2nd week in May, and students aren't always fully engaged at that point in time. But we are very confident that we did what we were supposed to do. Our reports from our teachers is that our writing is just getting better. The way that we write isn't as formulaic. Our students are doing much better in their transitions between sentences, and there's a much better flow to our writing. Again, fitting nicely with our new Study Sync ELA curriculum. We go to our next one, our building, our goal for building school community. This is our 2nd year with this goal. A lot of this focuses around our pit crew, but we had a lot of other places, other organizations that kind of jumped on board this year. I just listed a lot of the activities that we did to try to do some more team building, we had several things working with the athletic boosters to have a lot of fun nights at our basketball games, the pink out game, the Grinch game, the whiteout game for volleyball. We started doing more pep assemblies this year, and not just pep assemblies, but motivational assemblies with a good message. Matt Wilhelm came, our BMX rider, actually came to all 3 schools this year. That was a fun motivational and anti-bullying assembly. We had a man named Terrence Talley come this year, a very inspirational speaker to the kids about anti-bullying. There wasn't a dry eye in the crowd when it was done, and that's teachers and students. We had several fun team assemblies throughout the year to just kind of build that team feeling. And the pit crew all school pep assembly, that one they did a lot of games and activities where it was team competitions. And the neat thing about it was at the end, nobody cared who won. Usually they're asking who won the most, or who won overall. We didn't even really keep score like that. It was just to have fun and enjoy it and have a good time. You heard a little bit earlier about the Lincoln Way Special Rec Wheelchair Assembly. Again, that's through our PE department. Ms. Coker is very involved in that, and that's for our disability awareness. And at the end of the year, we always have a promotion assembly for the students because we want them to see what it's like to move up. You're moving up from 6th grade to 7th grade to 8th grade, and then on to high school. So we make sure our kids all get to see that. So a very successful year with our building community goal. We also worked along with our in this goal. I'm working in our DESA work, our SEL work. This is all part of that. This year we realized that our SEL program wasn't working as effectively. We had been using Lions Quest. It wasn't really meeting our needs. So thank you to Dr. Johnson and a team to put together we did the DESA screening tool for our SEL students, and then we convened a group to work on examining new curriculum for that. So We had 4 publishers come in. I know Dr. Johnson's pregnant. Are you talking about this later tonight or no? It's being approved tonight. It was last week. Yeah. So in the fall, if you approve it tonight, we'll be using Wayfinder with our SEL students, and that falls right within that goal as well. And then goal number 3, sorry. I'm seeing it on my screen. Yeah, here we go. On goal 3, thanks. This year, we want to continue our annotation. This goes along with our first goal of becoming better writers. We want to be becoming better annotators, which will allow us to get better evidence and reasoning scores. So we wanted to implement this year, but we found out that we could only do a little bit of pilot work because everybody had already started down the path pretty far, and we didn't want to confuse the kids. So next year, we will be using, they're going to be trying out a new method with the metacognition using the acronym HUNT, highlight, underline, note, and note vocabulary, and think deeper. See, I'm staring at my screen. It's my last night. I get a break, don't I? So we want to highlight. So we have some. Each class is going to work on this with using specific colors to highlight those key facts, dates, and names. Really encourage them to focus on main ideas. Kids often don't know how to really highlight. They highlight way too much or not enough. So we want to teach them how to use that. Underline those supporting details or examples. Note important vocabulary. Vocabulary is always a challenge, and it gets more and more difficult as you move up through the grades. Not that it's not difficult the earlier grades, but we really start getting some pretty complicated vocabulary and quick definitions of what's going on. And then we really want to work on this last part of thinking deeper, writing down questions, reflections about what they're reading, really thinking about what they're actually reading. That's that metacognition piece, making connections to what they already know, asking themselves questions about what they need to know, and then really encourage them to know, why is this significant? Why is this important in that bigger picture? So those are our goals for this year. That's where we got, and that's where they're going for next year.
Can't see the color from where I'm sitting. So we started doing this, we started streaming this because we wanted to be transparent. As during COVID, people weren't even able to come to the meetings. We've never been legally required to broadcast. We're still not legally required. We did it out of a sense for our community. We shared it. And years ago, we brought up the idea of, could we record it? And at that time, there was cost between uploading the data, where to host it, yes, equipment, everything else. And at that time, it was indicated to be a $50,000 expense. That's true. That was also years ago. And I know people will complain about these microphones, but that's what we have for now. If we are able to record and post on our own website or post a link and then we can put it to YouTube, I'd really be curious how many unique views we get, how many people watch it all. Because right now we can't see it. We can see how many people watch the live stream, and that's true. And it's generally about a dozen at the most. But if more people watch it, and if that's something people are interested in, then in my opinion, it's worth exploring. But there is a time element to do it. That's true. And we can always review possible equipment needs in year 27 when we review the communication part of the strategic plan. But could we do it? Yes, we can. Do other groups in Mokena do it? I don't know. I know the village does. I don't know if the park district does. I don't know if the library does. I don't know. But they're not here. And that's not us. Is this a decent service for our community? That's the real question. And I pose it to the 6 of you. Don't all jump at once. Julie, what you got?
I'm in favor of recording the meetings. I think it's obviously there hasn't been community members coming in saying not to do it. The folks took the time to come in and ask us to do it. The numbers, if you like evidence by way of numbers, I think that the numbers are there to support it. I just think it's a great way to be transparent and a great way to possibly plug holes that, I shouldn't say holes, because our minutes are, and this is not to disparage Miss Lynn at all, our minutes, they're not a recitation of the meeting, right? So It's an outline, and folks can go back and see rationale if somebody voted no on something, for instance. So I think it's a good idea, and I would support it.
Okay. Thank you, Julie. Who's next? Okay, Sam, what you got?
Okay. I will say this, and it sounds like I'm being funny, but I have always wanted this since before I got on this board. When my daughter was a kindergartner, and at that point in time, we didn't have the whole Live at login. I didn't have her login stuff yet, so I couldn't watch any of them during pre-COVID. That's about her time that she started. So there were a lot of things that I could not see, and I've always thought that it would be honestly just a great idea to have access to be able to go back and watch a video later. My questions that I've brought up a couple different times now with this, and I do have all of the answers now, but a couple different times my whole concerns were the only people sitting at this table that do not get paid to do anything with this district are the 7 of us. Everything has a cost. I've heard a lot of it's free, it's this, it's real quick, it still comes with a cost. We still have to pay someone to do this. My concerns were if we take this on as a district, that's significantly different than doing it as a community member. As a community member, I can do pretty much whatever I want on the internet. As a district, we have a lot of rules and policies and laws that have to be followed. So my concerns were what type of responsibilities and obligations would we be taking on as a district? I now know not many. We would have to follow the same as we would with our minutes and our recordings and things along those lines, same rules and policies. That still brings me back to someone has to do it, and nobody is working for the district for free other than the 7 of us. So
You're really selling this after the election.
I just really want to make sure that I point that out. I realize it could be very minimal, and I'm not trying to pinch pennies here or be the person that, like, if it's only an hour, whatever. But those were my biggest concerns. What type of responsibilities do we have as a district? What type of rules and laws do we follow? What just legalities in general do need to be done? After all of those things being answered, I am right now in a leaning over the fence on the yes side, because I still have that who has to do it now? Who is going to have a new responsibility associated with their job title that they didn't think they were going to have to do when they took this job or re-upped or whatever the case may be? Someone now has to do this job if we're going to do it. And that's a discussion that I think needs to be had, obviously, a little bit further. But for the most part, I think it's a great idea.
Fair points. Because there is a true cost to doing this. There absolutely is. Some of it's time, some of it's generating proper policies and things. It's not as easy as if I was just doing it on my phone for a personal, posting a picture or video or something. It's not that easy. So, good points. Who's next? Okay. Okay. Go for it.
Look at it. You can hear all my rustling. I have been pretty much, in favor of doing it as well, because I think everybody who has come in to take the time to request this, they have the right. That we all have the rights as parents and community members. If you want to watch the meetings, we can watch the meetings. But with everything that Sam just said to you, I am concerned about who's going to do it and what's the cost going to be in getting it done.
Okay.
So, but I would be in favor of it.
Would it be a fair
With
idea?
the discussion of, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I think a fair idea would be to address that next month as part of an informational item to ultimately be voted on in August, one way or the other. Because there has to be, there's still steps to this. It's not like anybody's going to vote on it next month. It's not even officially an information. This is just gauging the interest.
Yes.
Anybody else want to chime in? Going once. Going twice.
No, I'll go.
Eric's ready.
No, Eric, I call dibs.
I don't have my eyes outside my mouth. Help me out.
Is he gonna go?
Go for it. So, we're sitting here at June 18th. My understanding is Mr. Gurney's district does record their meetings right now. So I would like to understand all of, because I do have some legal concerns too.
Yeah.
Israel, who's not here, Sarah, who used to record it, that's great. They're not going to get sued if something goes wrong. this district's going to get sued if something goes wrong. So there are legal ramifications of this. How long do you have to keep it out there? You know, if someone just does it on a personal thing, you can keep it out. You're not under the same restrictions that we are as a school district. So I see Mr. Gurney shaking his head. I would love to pick his brain on this topic and get the pros and cons and then make a decision.
Okay, that's a fair point.
Since his district does it. Whereas former, well, I guess current district for 12 more days or.
Well, and to that point, Lincoln Way publishes theirs. I would encourage all of you to see what they do as a comparison so we can inform our conversation a little bit more next month.
I agree.
Okay.
I would like to say a couple things. Okay, so two things. Well, I don't know how many, but we did get an informational item. It wasn't called an informational item, but Dr. Johnson sent an email to the board documenting legal costs, time, and other considerations. So I asked that get posted to board book because that's what was led. I mean, this discussion is stemming off of this memo. The second thing is, you know, I think we need to be very careful about this whole adage that, you know, we need to stay in the balcony. It's not our job to determine how it gets implemented or who implements it. That is not our task. We're the board. We tell the superintendent that this is what we desire. The cost has it been established. I'm looking at Dr. Johnson's memo. It is free. So the board, all we have to do is say, yes, we want it. If what I heard was not only did Dr. Johnson address legal information in her memo, but I think I just heard that Jim already sought legal advice, which the board has not been privy to. So I ask that legal advice that the district has paid for please be shared with the board, and that you know, we don't delay. Like, this is just prolonging something that has been established as free. You know, if we need help in figuring out how to make it quick and easy, there are resources that have already been volunteered to us for months. We have had countless people advocating for this for years. And to say that we're going to continue to kick it down the can because we're concerned about costs or we're concerned about legalities, I mean, it's here. You've talked to the lawyer. It's here. It's in Dr. Johnson's memo. Like, it seems like we're going like this, right? And we're just kicking the can. So I'll just say that I think we should try to get this up for a vote next month. The information was provided. Legal advice has been sought. If there's any other outstanding questions that have not been answered, then the board should pose them right now.
Thank you for your opinion. I'm the one that sent the email. Dr. Johnson didn't. And the normal I'm not playing semantics. I'm not going to do it. I sent the email. It is still going to be listed for information because there is more to this than just making a snap decision. And we owe our people the time to make sure it's done right. So we are still broadcasting. These are still public meetings. People get the board packets the same time we do. I'm in favor of recording it. I just want to make sure it's done right. I don't think racing it one way or the other is going to make any difference. I can appreciate your desire, but we do have a program on how things work through the system. So thank you for your thoughts.
Mr. Anderson, can you share with us the legal advice that you received on the topic?
It's legal, and I'm not going to talk about it in public session. No, you received a copy just like everybody else did.
I received a copy of the legal advice you received.
Again, you have everything I have.
Did you speak with John Fester, or did you
I'm
get?
not having that conversation right now.
Well, I ask that you forward and share legal advice that you got from our attorney as a member of the board with your fellow members of the board on a topic before the board.
That's what I sent you. I sent all of you. I took time and I spoke with Kristen. She was a big help getting this done, trying to do light research to inform our discussion tonight with a baseline of information to help us with this conversation. That was my goal. That's what we accomplished. That was shared. You all have it. All of you.
So, okay, I'm sorry,
I don't understand the issue. You have everything I have on this.
Okay, I have received a memo from Dr. Johnson to you. Just now, you said that you spoke with our attorney. I have not received anything from you saying what the advice from our attorney was.
For starters, certain things are held for closed sessions, such as confidential information or attorney conversations. What I did say is I asked Dr. Johnson to work with our people to look into the legal implications of this idea out of a sense of caution, out of a sense of care. I had some baseline information from that research, and I freely shared it with all of you as soon as I had it, which is 100% true. No one has reached out to me prior to the meeting tonight with questions or concerns at all. But I wanted to share with you some baseline information to help inform this conversation. Judging by the fact that pretty much everybody said they're in favor of this, I don't think this is a problem. I think it's just going to go through the normal track that these things go through. I don't know what else to share on this. No one's arguing that this is a bad idea. No one's arguing we can't possibly do it. I literally have a list here of everybody saying they think this is a great idea. So that being said, I think discussion is closed and we need to move on. And thank you all for your input. So let's continue on. For information, Sam, do you have anything you'd like to share regarding Finance Committee stuff?
Nope, just the next meeting is September 8th.
September 8th. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, Julie, would you like to share things regarding board policy updates?
Absolutely. Issue 118 is part of board book. Jim and I had a question asked about the procedure for informing everybody about what is included in the policy changes and to better communicate that. So we responded to that via Kristen's email. Thank you, Kristen. So I would just ask folks to look at, I would say go to page 7 in the memo. That's the best way to start. And there's a chart there that outlines the changes to the policy and any administrative procedures and exhibits. Now, what I normally had done, but wasn't able to do this time, was sit with Mr. Stein. And so I apologize for that. I normally would have had a memo from Mr. Stein and myself, but since he just ran out of time, and he's enjoying his retirement now, I'm waiting for Mr. soon-to-be Dr. Gurney to start and then see if he likes the procedure that we were using to review the policy. So whenever these memos come out, we can either sit as a committee, happy to do that, or I can sit, or if I'm not available, Jim can sit with Mr. Gurney to go through and then give an update on what changes are necessitated from the press update. In the past, we have just taken all of the updates because they're thoroughly vetted by attorneys. The one time that I can remember, and maybe other people can remember when we didn't, was just school uniforms, since we don't have school uniform. But I know I put that in the response, but just in case anybody had any questions, and just to give Mr. Gurney a heads up that that we usually tried to meet on this, and then I'll get you updated and see what you think the best policy is going or procedure is going forward. So that's what I have.
Okay.
Julie, so one of the things that someone asked in our process before the board meeting was about, policies are static in a place, and then implementing the procedures in accordance with the policies is a separate deal. And so one of the things I've always struggled with is the board is passing these amendments to policies, and something that I felt was missing is making sure, having a conversation to make sure that the implementation changes necessary to be in compliance. How are those being done? What's the time frame on those? So that's an important part that has always been missing for me, and that is what I feel like our duty, in the governance and the monitoring. It's our policies. I talked earlier about the internal controls that's in our policies. That's our job. So is it best that we push this? Can we push approving these changes to allow Mr. Gurney another month, and that we can have that conversation with him about implementing them?
Let me address that for you real quick. So the way that we addressed the press in the past was Ms. Lynn would input all of the changes, and we that was outlined in when Jim and I responded in the response to the questions. So there is a procedure that we put in place. If we want to formalize it and put that into our policies, that's certainly something that we can talk about in a policy committee, because that's my background. I've come from a compliance world, so I'm happy to talk about that. But I have every confidence that Ms. Lynn has implemented the changes because Mr. Stein would direct her to do that after approval from the board.
Sorry, I'm not talking about making the changes in our policy manual.
Oh, okay.
I'm talking about implementing the procedural changes to be in compliance with the changes to the policy manual, and getting some reassurance or having a conversation with the superintendent. So basically, according to our current time frame, we got 2 weeks with Mr. Gurney to be able to establish all of these are going to.
This is an information item today, and then it's action next week. And these have been out for
next month.
So I feel like we have time, but I'm willing to take guidance from the will of the board and push it if folks feel like that's necessary, if I'm addressing your question right.
My question is more for Mr. Gurney. Is he going to have enough time, starting on July 1st, our meeting is on July, 2 weeks later, presumably, to answer questions about how we're going to change our administrative procedures?
Gotcha. So I think when Jim or I meet with him about the procedures, we'll address that, and then it'll appear as an information or an action item in the next meeting.
So I had a quick question. So that was actually my question, and that's, thank you for the answer, but that's not what my question was. So my question was, when you talk about Kelly Lynn, who's very great, but as we keep approving these press releases, it came to my mind, who is actually reviewing Kelly Lynn to make sure that she puts those in? Because if I'm Kelly Lynn, I want someone checking my work before that goes public. You can fat finger something, you can do all kinds of things. So my question is what's the process to, because if I'm Kelly, like I said, if I'm Kelly Lynn, I want someone making sure that I didn't, because then if that policy's up there wrong, and someone goes back and says, oh, Kelly Lynn typed it in there. No one checked to make sure she had it. That's my question is, now that we have this, who, who is the double checking? Not, so you go through like steps 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm like, that's great. What's step 5 or what's step 4A?
Sure.
Who's going to do it? Is it the superintendent? Is it someone else in the business office? Is it the policy committee? Is it the board? Who is going to do that going forward?
Okay.
Is my question. We don't have to answer it tonight because she's not doing it, but I'm trying to look out for Kelly Lynn as well. I don't want to put the burden on her to, oh my gosh, if you messed up, sir. Because unfortunately we have people that are going to play gotcha games, and they're going to look for people to blame, and I don't want that on Kelly Lynn. So
That's fair.
That's my question. Not to be answered
Well, thanks
tonight.
for the clarification, and I'm sure it'll get addressed.
And then something else that what I was thinking about, I apologize again, it's not for tonight, but we've had sessions at the annual meeting or the annual convention in November about the requirements for us to keep multiple versions of the policy past things. So I just want to understand better how we're doing that as well going forward, so that we have a historical record of, because they talked about that as well,
right,
in those sessions. So something that we need to
absolutely
develop as well.
And
one suggestion on that is the board secretary. Could the board secretary have a role in, document control on the policy manual?
Yeah, I'll make note of these, of course, and then after Bob drinks from the fire hose, we'll throw in a policy committee meeting and just hit some of these issues and just make sure that everyone's comfortable going forward.
It works. Yay. Dr. Johnson, you're up.
Good evening again. Just to summarize my report fairly quickly, we don't have any students with us physically, but we have some student posters around us this evening as part of our student spotlight. This is artifacts from the Module 4 ELA program for our third graders. They were researching and learning about the importance of clean, fresh water around the world. And then they did some research to learn more about fresh water around the world and issues that other countries face in accessing fresh water. And then they had to develop specific actions to kind of solve that problem that they were researching. So that's what you see around us. Mrs. Barr could, a lot of her posters are up here. So thank you for hanging those for us as a way to still keep our students here and they're learning here with us tonight. So that is what you see around the room. I did provide a little bit of a summary regarding the compliance visit that the Regional Office of Education completed with us last month. I think it's important to note that our district was in full compliance with all of the different components, and there were hundreds of them, that the district office worked very hard to provide evidence for. So everyone around the table, Kelly Lynn, especially with our policies. And so that was really great to hear that the regional office was very pleased and actually complimented our district of, I forget exactly what they had said, but we were kind of a model of like professionalism and organization in doing this work. So I do want to thank everyone in the district for working very hard to ensure we're in compliance and then put that evidence together for the compliance visit. I provided a little bit of an update of actions this month regarding our advanced learner programming. I was actually just today with our 6th grade teachers where we were planning those extensions for our advanced ELA course for 6th grade. We have a couple action items this evening that were presented to you as informational items last month. Our consolidated district plan is an action item for you, just as a reminder that plan starts the grant writing process for Mrs. Munt and I to get started with the IDA grants as well as the title grants. The Illinois PACE framework is another component that is up for an action item this evening. I did have a couple questions regarding like what class is teaching that, and it is actually a combination of classes. So the process that we went through with Dr. Rolanitis, Mr. Munch, and the building leadership team with teachers is we went through each of those components or goals within the PACE framework and had some discussion of where are things like this already taking place within our classes, and then where are those holes. A lot of those pieces in the PACE framework, you'll note, are kind of living in that social emotional learning realm. One of the great things about the Wayfinder curriculum that is up for your approval tonight at the junior high is many of these lessons are found within that curriculum, and they actually have some supplemental lessons that address many of these other areas. So we'll be able to utilize those lessons within advisory. And then there's some additional components that we're building into our ELA classroom. I'm meeting with the chamber in July with a few 8th grade teachers. We're looking to plan a career day within the community to help promote that career awareness. So where there were areas that it wasn't explicitly being taught now, we worked really hard within our building leadership team to kind of identify what that would look like. And we have plans for implementation for this upcoming school year. Like I mentioned, we have the Wayfinder SEL curriculum up for your approval this evening for our junior high. And then I provided a little bit of a summary of our end of year administrative retreat that we've conducted yearly once school has gotten out. And as always, I try to include some celebrations. This month includes some recent acceptance to present at conferences. I, again, just want to speak very highly of anyone who goes to do that and represents our district and shares those great things that are happening within the district with others, because it really helps build our profession. So our instructional coaching team has been accepted to present at the annual statewide conference for coaches. And then, as I had mentioned, Melissa from Northwestern had reached out to me and wanted to share our journey with program review to implementation. So we've been accepted to present at the Illinois Association for Gifted Children's Conference in October. So that is what I have. Thank you. Thank you. Going back on the road show again without Dr. Rolanitis. But
Pretty nice.
Yeah.
Pretty nice. We might have to pull him back from wherever he's going to disappear to. He might miss out on the fun. Great report. Thank you. Megan, how we doing? It's after 9. It's okay.
All right.
Nobody saw nothing.
All right. A couple items for you all today. Extended school year has officially begun. We kicked it off through the Lincoln Way Area Special Education Cooperative. 2 different locations for ESY this year at Grand Prairie and Frankfort, and then Pioneer Grove, running from June 16th to July 17th. At Mokena, we have about 32 students that are currently enrolled this summer, so very exciting. Looking at staffing needs for the next school year, we have 3 open positions for FTE. We have a school psychologist position that we have had difficulty over multiple years filling that position. I think it's one of the hardest to fill in the area. We also have an open position at MIS for a special education teacher and at MJH. Additionally, I will be reviewing with all the principals paraprofessional needs based on all of the IEPs and student needs. Rachel has had the pleasure of working with me already to dive into IEPs, so we are looking pretty good at MES, but want to make for sure we have all of our student needs regarding paraprofessional needs at MIS and MJH, so I'll be meeting with them next week to discuss those. So more to come with that. Preparing for next school year, we wrapped up our student services, our special education steering committee meeting for this year. This team really focused on what next year will bring. Next year, we're really looking at what professional development opportunities we can bring in, what we can talk about as a team, and focus on as we begin diving deep into areas of improvement and celebrating areas of success. So those focus areas for next year are effective data collection practices, co-teaching models and methodologies, legal compliance regarding eligibility process and how that influences the development of IEPs. And then based on those insights and strategies, that's when we really start diving into that full implementation and in the second and third grade. My goodness, it is past 9 o'clock. Second and third year moving forward. So more to come with that. You'll get frequent updates as you have in the past couple of months. Our fourth line item is just a general update, timely, meaningful consultation. This is something that happens in May. It is a legal requirement through IDEA and ISBE. Special Ed loves its acronyms. So Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, that is the federal grant organization that we receive funding through. And then ISBE, I'm sure you're all familiar with the Illinois State Board of Education. So we have met those requirements. That is a meeting held in collaboration with St. Mary's and then participating homeschool families to ensure we are fulfilling our child find obligations and supporting students in our community who may be eligible for special education services. And then last but not least, I know that this may sound silly, but I gave a student student services shout out to everyone on my team. Julie said it again of drinking through a fire hose to Mr. Gurney, but it really was my first year here drinking through a fire hose. And I can't thank every single member of my team enough for their dedication and their tireless efforts. Supporting students with various needs is unique, and every single day I learn something new from not only the students but the staff on the student services team. So a shout out to each and every single one of them.
Good to have good people, isn't it?
It's fantastic.
Makes
I
a
have
world of difference.
really great people on my team, our team. Any questions? I will go on mute.
Great report. We got to celebrate good things in life.
Yeah.
We got to deal with the rest too, but we got to focus on the wins. Terry, how we doing?
Hi, me again. So with my board report tonight, we've got some, on the first page is our finance committee. We don't meet again until September. The 5 meeting dates are listed. Mark your calendars, big excitement. All right, some information items. We've got the window blinds that we'll bring forward as an action item next month.
Mm-hmm.
And then the hot water heaters, it was kind of a last minute information item. So everybody got the information item added on Monday. So we need to take care of those. We had both the hot water heaters, which were original to the building, go down. We got a couple quotes. I did say that we were under the $35,000. We're actually under the $50,000 bidding exemption from school code because it's construction, with is the exemptions, the contracts for repair, maintenance, remodeling, renovation, construction of a single project involving an expenditure not to exceed $50,000. So, and not changing the footprint of the building. So we do have the ability to accept the quote and move forward. The contractor that's actually did the. Why are you looking at me, Lincoln? Did my microphone on? Yeah. Okay. Okay. So we have a good relationship with the low bidder, and we do anticipate success with that. The other information item that I have is the expanded scope on the summer flooring. So on the expanded scope for the summer flooring, we have contingency built into the construction projects. So the contingency that we had built into this project was $33,950. Everybody received the memo from Wold from me. Mm-hmm. And so the expanded scope, usually contingencies, like if you run into a problem, for example, we did contingency on the roofing project in case we ran into something when we're doing that renovation. So with the flooring project and what floors that we're looking at, we just by the nature of it, you put a 10% contingency in a lot of projects. So we have a $33,000 contingency. We did want to add a few things and expand the scope. And it's within the contingency. Just wanted information item, everybody to know what we were looking at was adding the floors in the district office, putting this carpet in the district offices, and in the this floor in Mrs. Chorley's office this summer. She's getting a new desk, and so that way we don't have to put a new desk in, take it out next year, put a new floor in. So we thought since we'd be able to do that, so then you just put the floor and put the desk on top of it. And then Mr. Munch asked for an extended walk-off carpet in the corridor at MJ by the gym entrances. So that was an additional $1,500. So we were underneath the contingency of 33.9. Just wanted to make everybody aware that we are expanding that scope and using the contingency money. So that's information item. What else we've got? We've got some action items tonight. We've got every year in June, we ask for board approval to close the bills between the bill payments that will do tonight and then July 1st. So we get invoices in and we actually call people to make sure that we get invoices in for projects or, for example, for grant expenditures that need to happen before June 30th. So we will be doing a second bills run in June with board approval. We will submit a report to the board saying, here's the bills that we paid. So you'll have not just the credit card, the prepays, and the AP bills, but you'll have a fourth that show what bills, and the person who has the July, Mrs. Tunney, will review those in July. So we're asking for approval to close bills for the year. And then there's an authorization. One of the part of the process for preparing a budget is that the board does approval for preparing the FY26 budget. So we will close the FY25 budget with the amended tonight, move into the FY26 budget and start that. See the first glance in June with the tentative approval in July. First glance in July, tentative approval in August, and final approval in September. And then we've got summer painting, which was an information last month for approval tonight, and then the amended budget. There's a couple MOUs that you worked with Mr. Stein on. I had the one is the BCBA, which is a new position. And then there was a Schedule B stipends, which was part of an MOU in the old contract that we just need to update that into the new contract. As everybody saw, we've got transportation. We had 2 resignations. Every year, HR sends out a return to work intent letter. We had 2 of our bus drivers check the box for no. So that's kind of put us in a little bit of a reactionary mode to try to be to find a couple bus drivers for the fall. And so we've got some ideas that we're going to bring forward in the next couple weeks to try to recruit some bus drivers. HR has done the end of year. So last week we spent 3 days with Skyward doing the end of the year payroll and the rollover and building into the next fiscal year. So that's always challenging for payroll and HR. And then it's a very busy season for Kim as she does all the onboarding and hiring. And she was very instrumental in the successful, along with Kelly Lynn, with the ROE audit. Our new maintenance guys are up and running. We got them some very nice Mokena shirts. And so they are each in their buildings, and Dave has been working with them, getting them trained in what his expectations. And let's see, what else do we have in here? I think that's about it. Food service is wrapped up for the year. She'll be back in August. And as far as like taking things on the road, as administrators, we have to take administrator academies every year to keep our credentials up to date. And this year I will be teaching the admin academies. So we'll be doing a little roadshow with part of my PLC through the IASBO, the School Business Association. We'll be teaching people on how to file their transportation claim. All kinds of fun.
You know all about that.
Yeah. So we'll have the first one last year. We had one in Bloomington, and we had the largest turnout that they've ever had in an admin academy. So we're doing 2 this year. One in Champaign on July 22nd, and one at NIUDO on July. So.
Wonderful. Any questions for Terry?
Comment real quick. And in line with celebrating the wins, I just wanted to do the shout out to Bill and Jimmy, the bus drivers. I don't know how long they were here, but they were here a long time, and it's a hard job, as he spoke about last month. I just appreciate that. I know that this is a nationwide issue of a bus shortage, and I know that we are our efforts to seek more folks, but I just wanted to give a shout out to them for their years of service.
Thank you.
Good point.
Okay, I have a couple things. Terry, with the bills that we are up for approval, that you're going to pay, I guess, in the next 2 weeks or next week, is this a normal every year request from the board that you get pre-approval for bills?
To close out the year.
Yeah.
Bills. Yeah.
It happens every year?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why we just put it right in the consent agenda, because it happens every year.
Okay, and then you're saying that that'll be very clear next month. It'll be a separate report showing what those were, and then whoever is reviewing the bills will do that review along with the July.
Correct.
Okay.
Remember, you had that 2 years ago?
I thought it was the prepaids, but I guess maybe
That's what it was.
it was July.
Yeah, that was part of that learning lesson that don't throw a brand new board member in the July.
Okay, I remember, yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot.
I was like, what? Yeah, I know. I remember. And that's part of me was expecting this month's bills to be double. And so that explains that. So I'm much more comfortable now. Okay, so I just have a couple other questions. I'm sorry, I got to go back to my notes now. The bills. Okay, we just paid hundreds of thousands of dollars. I think it was $500,000 to my recollection for 2 new buses, right? Is that about right?
For the 2 new buses.
Or was it 250?
250.
Okay, 250. So my number, okay. So that was the whole working cash bond that we did. And effectively, what is here is that now 2 buses, if we don't get drivers, will be put out of commission. And we just paid $250,000. Okay, so to me, I think, this has been a problem that we've dealt with for all year, pretty much. And I hope that we can get creative and put as much effort into thinking outside the box on what it's going to take. And I just would, again, encourage the administration to bring forth to the board what you need and what you think it will take to get what we need. We need 2 bus drivers, it sounds like, I believe, and then, or, I guess that's my, I just would encourage that. And, we have a special meeting scheduled next week. So if there's anything that can be taken the opportunity to, while we're here to have us do at that meeting that's already scheduled, maybe that's a possibility. And then one of the questions I asked, I'm deeply concerned about this healthcare cost, and we just went through a renewal where I think the healthcare premiums last year increased 10%. This year it's 15%. Last month we had no conversation about it. This month it's not here for the board. I guess I just don't know, when is the board, what is supposed to happen out of that insurance committee to bring to the board on the cost of these premiums and the 15% raise in 1 year is something that needs to get, it's basically $400,000 more next year than it is this year. So when is the board going to discuss that?
You may want to have that conversation in private or here. What would you like?
I mean, I think we should have it here.
You asked to be part of the insurance committee. You came to one meeting. You didn't come to the rest of them. The staff did, the admin did, the teachers did, the MCSA did. They all came together to review the plans because health insurance costs a lot. And we all spent a lot of time doing it. You were invited, you were welcome, you received emails to that effect. That's when everything was discussed, Kelly. I'm not trying to be rude about it, but you wanted to be there, you were invited to be there, you chose not to be there, not to participate. They even decided to change plans because they saw a plan that wasn't being utilized very much. They wanted to change to a different plan. They did. Health insurance costs, as everyone knows, when they're looking at their bills, health insurance is a major expense. Quite honestly, the idea that it only went up 15% is a blessing. When we look at our utilization rates, when we look at the utilization rates of our staff, I'm glad they have that coverage. I think that's great. But the truth is Blue Cross lost money on us last year, and they had to make adjustments like a lot of other places. So all of that has already been handled. In fact, the new plan, I believe it starts July 1st, if I remember correctly. They had open enrollment in May, and people were able to choose the plans based upon what they wanted to. But all of that has been asked and answered for months now. And I wish you would have been there. You were always welcome.
Okay, so thank you. I do know what has happened, and I was engaged in that committee. So I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about when is that information brought to the public and to the board, and the decisions that were made, when is that discussed at a public meeting?
It's not.
Why?
Well, if you were there, then you would know this is a contractual benefit that is offered as part of their terms of employment. The board does not have an official say in the health insurance that our staff chooses. We go there and we facilitate a benefit for our staff, and they are free to choose from these options. And there's input from all these different people to see what plans they would like. Alfred and Terry, feel free to help me if I'm missing anything.
No.
Please help me.
Yep.
But they choose the plan based upon multiple options. And we've got a wonderful broker who Christiane's been, and Jim have been helping us for years. And they listened to the input of staff to try to figure out were there better plans out there. And this year there appeared to be one. There was also a plan that was no longer going to be offered, if I remember correctly. And that had to get switched to because the Blue Choice Network was having changes made to it. But representatives from those groups were all there. The board itself is not going to individually say which Blue Cross Blue Shield plans they can choose. We are offering that benefit to the employees, and they have a say in which plans are offered, and they made that choice, and then they chose which plans they were going to enroll with from there.
Okay, so here's where I think we're kind of going like this. The board does decide what we offer our employees. We have a contract and obviously a laws, probably multiple laws that say we have to offer something, but what we pay for and what we offer, there are mechanisms that can vary. And this is our largest expenditure. I mean, we're talking over $3 million, or certainly over between $2 and $3 million of healthcare expense that went up 15% in 1 year. And the board needs to approve expenditures out of this district. This should be something that comes before the board. This is not a decision for our employees to make on what we as a district are incurring as far as expense. So why is the board not, why is it not coming to the board? This has always been kind of a mystery, and I appreciate being on the committee. I learned a lot, but that information should have always been, and should be right now, part of the board's responsibility to approve. I mean, every contract over $35,000 or $50,000, this is a $3 million contract. The board has to approve this.
All of that is discussed as part of the negotiation process between the MTA, the MCSA, et cetera. So they're.
But I'm not talking about that.
So within our collective bargaining agreements, we have insurance in there. So we've got a 5-year agreement with the MTA, and part of that, and we're working toward one with the MCSA, that has currently has a Me Too clause in it, which means that the MCSA gets mirrored to what the MTA has. So inside that contract, it says, as far as the insurance goes, here's where we're at. So here's where we're at, and this is what we have today. And inside that contract, it says next year starts with this year's. So there is no ability to say we're spending $10,000 this year on this plan, and next year we're going to only offer something that the district will pay $7,000 in. The contract says we start with this year's benefit, and then we take a look at what those plans are available, and we negotiate down, and we start with last year's, and then we go forward. So that contract language exists. If the insurance committee, we've reported out, here's what we've done in the insurance committee. We've talked about what that renewal looks like. As far as how the board approves that payment, when the board approves your budget, you're also approving all of the teacher salaries. So that's also part of our contractual obligations. We don't say every year you're at 62,000, so we're going to individually vote on you. That's part of our collective bargaining agreement with our staff, that what they have next year is not going to be less than what they have this year. In our language, it says we start with what you have this year and we negotiate to what next year looks like. So we are contractually obligated to say, here's the base. And the base is the plan that we currently have. And so when the board approves the budget in its entirety, approving the budget approves salaries and benefits. It approves all of our contractual obligations, and that's all built into our budget.
Okay, well, we're at a disagreement because the board should be approving expenditures, and the expenditures that we approve is action items that come before the board, and they're individual action items, and then there's bills. And when we approve a budget, that's not expenditures. They're two separate things. We approve the budget, that's a budget. We approve expenditures, that's expenditures. Contracts, that's contracts. Here's a prime example. What happened in the insurance committee this year was a decision was made in that committee that an additional plan, as Jim just talked about, was going to be offered instead of one that was currently offered that was not utilized by anybody, right? That plan, by being offered and added to the menu, is going to cost the district more money out of our pocket, because all you got to do is look at the employee and employer contributions, and the employer contributions, which is us, is substantially more in this new offering. The board needs to approve that is going to be offered. The board needs to approve the annual contract with Blue Cross Blue Shield or whatever. We need to look at the cost of health insurance and benefits, and that is not coming before the board, and it should. There's zero doubt in my mind, and we can follow up, but this is a $3 million expense, And the fact that none of it is coming up for board review and it's going up 15% in 1 year, 10% last year, the MTA contract says we can change our benefits. We have that ability.
Full stop, full stop. I'm gonna help everybody for 1 second. No, it doesn't. I will not have our staff thinking we can unilaterally change an agreed upon contract. I love you all in the back of the room. I see you shaking your head. You're okay. We will not be having a negotiation conversation regarding contracts. That's not what this conversation is. The current contract has been agreed upon. The budget is going through its normal facilitation. I would, with the help of my fellow board members, like to move on to our next topic. Okay, that being said, we are moving on. Okay, so Lincoln, how we doing over there?
Good evening. I just have two quick items on my board report this evening. Before I start, a huge thank you to Rachel sitting next to me for always letting us use your LRC as our home base for the summer. If you haven't seen what it looks like in there, go ahead and walk up there and take a peek. He was vacuuming. Yep. So we did list out some of our summer projects. This is not everything. Some of the important ones we do every year is collecting all the Chromebooks, cleaning them, wiping them. As you see in one of the pictures on the second page, they organize the Chromebooks by grade alphabetically. And so once we get the new schedules in, they can start putting them in their homerooms. Along with that here, we did buy some new Chromebook carts. We did trial, I think, 4 carts earlier this year, and I believe pretty much most of the grade levels demanded that they receive the carts, which we obliged. That's another picture as well. They're put together. They're awesome. They're awesome carts. We completed our student database rollover on the 16th. Comcast came in the last 2 Fridays, and we replaced their equipment in prep for the internet switch out, which will be happening sometime in July. There's no set date yet for that. I stated that before. IACN went out to bid, and Comcast won the bid. So AT&T was providing us their internet. Now Comcast will be providing us their internet sometime in July. I'm switching over to Comcast. So finishing up our teacher laptop images so we can update the teacher laptops, and just some other miscellaneous projects we were getting done here. The big one here is our Skyward migration. Super excited about it. 6 days is our last day on 2.0. 5 p.m. Skyward asked me to lock down the system, and so Tuesday night, no one will have access to the old Skyward. They said they will release our new, or migrate over and release Skyward Q to us. They guarantee it by July 3rd. So they said by the end of the day, July 2nd, but they've been averaging 3 to 4 days for turnover. So hopefully we'll get it much sooner and we can start on other things. I did list some important dates. So on the 16th, during our rollover, we did shut down registration and enrollment, and Skyward recommended this so we can finish all the outstanding open cases, because they need to be fully 100% complete. Otherwise, they will not migrate over. So if anyone started the enrollment process and they didn't hear back from us that it's fully complete, they would need to contact us, and hopefully we can help them out to get it fully complete. Otherwise, they will have to start from scratch once we migrate. Like I just said, June 24th, 5 p.m., we're going to lock down Skyward, or 2.0. Hopefully by the end of day, July 2nd, we'll have Q. July 11th, I will meet with the attachment and migration team. So basically what that means is there's a lot of attachments for the student profile, report cards and stuff. That stuff just is magically migrate over. They have to map it out on their end. Basically, we're just going to have them move everything over, so which I believe they can do. And then August 7th, we'll have a meeting with the bell schedule team for the state of Illinois with Skyward to make sure that our bell schedules are set up correctly and working. So Other than that, that's all I really had for my board report. Any questions? It is.
For working
It's
on all that.
busiest part of the school year for the tech department is always the summers.
Lisa, we all said thank you. Okay. No questions for Lincoln? Okay. Anna, for 843.
All right. As District 843 wrapped up the end of the year, Mr. Englert projected that both the Ed Fund and O&M Fund will be under budgeted for expenditures, with revenue also coming in higher. Transportation Fund is likely going to be over budget for drivers' wages and likely fuel, mostly due to the timing of fuel billing. Wages look like they are higher, mostly due to the amount of field trips. We may need to discuss the implementation of field trip fees. Mr. Englert is working with Judy Boyens to gather the field trip data to determine the impact of these services are having on the budget. And transportation billing is higher than originally projected, so there should not be a shortage to make up in transportation when the final reconciliation is calculated. They have sent out the estimated charges to the member districts as of June 1st, which will be due June 30th. These estimated advanced charges are mostly to provide cash flow to pay the bus, it's late, right? The bus and leases that are due July 15th. So it will be critical that all the districts pay on time so the cooperative has the cash flow to make the first payment to Midwest. And so for our SELF program, the fun stuff, Mr. Romeo, he said that we had some seventh graders who went to Springfield. We had some, I don't know, Mike, how many kids went to Washington? He gave me the numbers, but I didn't write them down fast enough. 2, and then some Six Flags kids also, right? Yeah, it was pretty awesome. He also has been working on, the kids and understanding when they get reprimanded that they don't have a whole blowout and try to deal with their feelings and emotions. And so 2 of all the kids in the SELF program did not win some of the raffle baskets, right? 2 kids, and as they were crying that they didn't win, they were clapping for their fellow students who did win. And so he said it was a very proud moment for those 2 students who were very emotional about it, but still cheered their fellow students on. And the ESY is fully staffed. That is it. Oh, in 3 years of the program here, 12 kids have been sent back home to their home districts. So something to be very proud of. A lot of hard work the SELF program is doing. That's it.
Great. Any questions for Anna? Okay. We had 6 FOIAs this month. 5 of them have been settled, and 1 of them is still being worked through. That being said, we are on for action requests. Would someone like to make a motion to approve the minutes?
I move to approve minutes from May 12th, 2025 special board meeting and the May 21st, 2025 regular meeting and closed session meeting as presented.
Okay. Any questions? Hearing none. Kelly Lynn, when you're ready.
Mrs. Briscoe?
Yes.
Mr. Bush?
Yes.
Mrs. McMillan?
Yes.
Mrs. Ost?
Yes.
Mrs. Tunney?
Yes.
Mrs. Zelinski?
Yes.
Mr. Andreessen?
Yes.
Keep going.
Would you like to read this one?
I would love to.
thought
I
you
move
worked
to
on it.
approve the monthly bills as presented.
Second. Any questions? Kelly Lynn, on your call.
Mr. Bush?
Yes.
Mrs. McMillan?
Yes.
Mrs. Ost?
Yes.
Mrs. Tunney?
Yes.
Mrs. Zelinski?
Yes.
Mr. Andreessen?
Yes.
Mrs. Briscoe?
Yes.
I move to approve personnel recommendations 7C 1 through 8 as presented, subject to successful background check and verification of credentials if applicable. Okay, any questions?
I would like to welcome Ms. Levy. And thank you for staying so late.
Hey, how much ice cream did you bribe them with? I'm just curious. Hey, welcome to the crew.
Yes,
Happy to
welcome.
have you. Well, I love it. Absolutely love it. Okay. Thank you, Julie. Anybody else? Kelly Lynn, on you.
Mrs. McMillan?
Yes.
Mrs. Ost?
Yes.
Mrs. Tunney?
Yes.
Mrs. Zelinski?
Yes.
Mr. Andreessen?
Yes.
Mrs. Briscoe?
Yes.
Mr. Bush?
Yes.
Wonderful.
Welcome.
Very happy to have you here. Okay. Would someone like to read consent agenda?
Agenda item 8B123.
Second.
And Julie. Okay. Kelly Lynn? Oh, hold on 1 second. It's been late. I'm supposed to ask for questions. Any questions before we go? Okay, let's go.
Mrs. Ost?
Yes.
Mrs. Tunney? Mrs. Zelinski?
Yes.
Mr. Andreessen?
Yes.
Mrs. Briscoe?
Yes.
Mr. Bush?
Yes.
Mrs. McMillan?
Yes.
Okay. I move to approve the 2025-2026 Consolidated District Plan as presented.
Second.
Any questions? Let's go.
Mrs. Tunney?
Yes.
Mrs. Zelinski?
Yes.
Mr. Andreessen?
Yes.
Mrs. Briscoe?
Yes.
Mr. Bush?
Yes.
Mrs. McMillan?
Yes.
Mrs. Ost?
Yes. Good job, Kristen and Terry. And
I'm going to do
Megan.
this one
And
for
Megan.
Mike. I move to approve the adoption of the 6 through 8 SEL program Wayfinder for the 2025-2026 school year as presented.
Second. Lisa.
Hey, I don't have a question. I guess just got to thank you for everybody that worked on it. I hope it's as good as we hope it is. Let's get after it. Any other questions? Let's go.
Mrs. Zelinski?
Yes.
Mr. Andreessen?
Yes.
Mrs. Briscoe? Mr. Bush?
Yes.
Mrs. McMillan?
Yes.
Mrs. Ost?
Yes.
Mrs. Tunney? Yes.
I move to approve the summer painting projects in an amount not to exceed $19,720 as presented. And I got it.
Man, Lisa's trying to get in there. Love it. Any questions? Let's go.
Mr. Andreessen?
Yes.
Mrs. Briscoe?
Yes.
Mr. Bush?
Yes.
Mrs. McMillan?
Yes.
Mrs. Ost?
Yes.
Mrs. Tunney?
Yes.
Mrs. Zelinski?
Who wants the handbook?
I move to approve the 2025.
I wasn't going to say a word. I do have something to say here.
She wanted to get on it sooner or later. Come on. Yeah, I know. Go ahead.
So this is my third parent-student handbook, and looking at the parent-student handbook gives me angst. So I know that we have a parent advisory group. There wasn't anything really communicated from the group. I don't know what their thoughts were on the changes. I'm a very data-driven person as well, and I had asked for some basic data that I know the administration has access to, and I know that everybody makes decisions differently, and nobody supported. Well, I shouldn't say nobody supported my question. Not a majority didn't support my question. So, I like to know how well. Let me start over. One of the ways that I decide on whether something is working well, like our policies, because that's one of our biggest charges is policy, is looking at the data that can help inform that policy. And when you speak about discipline and ways, the steps in a discipline process and things like that, we have data that we look at. We have whether things are, we have complaint data as well. If a student complains, a parent complains, we have discipline data. So I think there is data to help us make that decision. I understand also that we rely heavily on the template that the Illinois Principals Association uses. I think they do good work, but that doesn't mean that we can't touch the template. I think it's a great template. But things can be modified if necessary for your own district. So I'm not going to vote no on it. I just want to give you some reasons why, if in the next, maybe my fourth time will be a charm, that maybe we can look a little bit closer at some of the data that could help inform potentially some changes to the handbook. Thanks.
I have something too. So I was planning to bring this up last meeting, and all conversation was just squashed. So the board has not had any discussion on this. And when you look at, I'm not sure the different colors, what they mean. Maybe I should know that, but there's a whole bunch of purple and there's a whole bunch of red. I'm assuming that means both colors are changes of some sort, but it's hard to reconcile, what exactly changed and what it was and what it is. But more importantly than that is same with the policy changes, is really the board needs to be monitoring that these are being implemented and how they're being implemented. Julie, I think, is saying similar in the way of data monitoring. Maybe just a conversation with the superintendent saying, yes, this is how we're doing it all. We've got a plan to address all these things, because the reality is our handbook and our policy manual can be in compliance with the law when the words are on the paper. But does that mean I would like to at least have a conversation about what's being executed? So we've not had that. So I will be voting no.
Mr. Stein did send an email on June 3rd with what the color coding meant. So red was previous updates, and then the light purple was in reference to the most recent updates that IPA provided to us. So he color coded those in purple. So if you want to check that email, there's a little bit more information in there for you.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions? Let's go.
Mrs. Briscoe?
Yes.
Mr. Bush? Mrs. McMillan?
No.
Mrs. Ost?
Yes.
Mrs. Tunney?
Yes.
Mrs. Zielinski?
Yes.
Mr. Andreessen?
Yes.
I move to approve a memorandum of agreement in regards to Schedule B stipends and collective bargaining agreement between the Mokena Teachers Association for the
Love it. Any other questions on this?
Yeah, I have a quick question. I don't know who to ask, but I think what this is doing is updating the stipends, the dollar amounts, based on what the board approved. At some point, I don't remember when that happened, and just retroing that schedule back to the contract. Can we just get confirmation on that? Is that what's happening?
On the, so there was an MOU in 2020 that said for these specific stipends, we're gonna pay them when the season's done instead of half here and half there. So it made it a little cleaner that somebody got their full stipend. For example, baseball's done in the fall, and our Schedule B says stipends are going to be paid in December and May. So instead of making them wait till May, they got their full stipend in December.
I guess my question is, if it was in the previous contract, why are we having to do an MOU then?
Yeah, it got overlooked in the previous contract. This just carries that MOU from the last one into this one. I think that's as simple as it is. It should have been put into this contract as part of Schedule B's with some additional language, but it didn't. And so when we went to pay, it's like, oh, that MOU didn't get put into the contract language, because everything we do, we reference the contract to make sure that we're doing it according to our agreed upon contract. But it had been in practice the last several years, but it wasn't in our contract. So that's from my department, payroll, we met with MTA the ladies in the back and Mr. Stein and said, it got overlooked. Can we just take our MOU and make a new MOU and update the date?
It was a previous MOU
Yeah,
in the
that's why I didn't
previous
understand.
contract.
Okay. Yeah.
And it was a simple oversight on both parties that we did not take that MOU and formalize it into language in the contract. And so we recognized that and just wanted to do right and ensure that that practice continued. And in order to do that, we need an MOU to make it official.
She just says it so much better than I do.
I just summarized it.
Any other questions?
Thank you both.
Okay. You good? Okay, let's go.
Mr. Bush?
Yes.
Mrs. McMillan?
Yes.
Mrs. Ost? Mrs. Tunney?
Yes.
Mrs. Zelinski? Yes. Mr. Andreessen?
Yes.
Mrs. Briscoe?
Any questions? Let's go.
Mrs. McMillan?
Yes.
Mrs. Ost? Mrs. Tunney?
Yes.
Mrs. Zelinski? Mr. Andreessen?
Yes.
Mrs. Briscoe? Mr. Bush?
Yes.
I move to approve the Illinois PACE framework for grades 6 through 8 as presented. Any questions? Let's go.
Mrs. Ost? Mrs. Tunney? Mrs. Zelinski? Mr. Andreessen?
Yes.
Mrs. Briscoe? Mr. Bush?
Yes.
Mrs. McMillan?
Yes.
I move to approve the amended FY25 budget as presented. Any questions? Let's go.
Mrs. Tunney? Mrs. Zelinski? Mr. Andreessen?
Yes.
Mrs. Briscoe? Mr. Bush?
Yes.
Mrs. McMillan?
No.
Mrs. Ost?
Okay. That being said, oh, yeah, go for it. What you got?
Well, I missed a page in my board report. I just want to. I just wanted to. I know it's late, but I wanted to update everybody. I looked over at Dave, and I missed a whole page of all the work that Dave has been doing, and he's doing such a great job managing a lot of these projects. And I had it all listed on here, and I make him give me all these updates, and then I flipped back to a page. So I just wanted to talk about it for a second because I did hear tonight somebody thought that the MIS roofing project was kicked back to summer 2026, and that's not true. The contractor anticipates starting next week and still finishing by our agreed upon timeline by August 8th. We think it's going to be finished faster than that, but we're also going to be doing some MES roof restoration too because we had that additional money in the budget. So that is on track to start next week. And so that's our fire panels project at MES and MIS. That project is on schedule to be complete on a timely manner. Our unit vent project, you did get a memo from me about that. We had a little bit of a delay, but we are back on track and we're on schedule for the unit vent projects. Mrs. Chorley has questions for Dave after reading about that. And then our MES and MIS concrete work, I think I also put that in the answer to board questions. And so Dave and I are working to come to some resolution with that, but anything that we don't anticipate any other cost to the district be picked up by the bonding company. So all of those projects that we've got going on this summer, Dave's done a great job overseeing this project and he's here tonight. So thank you. And I didn't want to miss his page. So.
And thank you for bringing that up because that is something I really wanted to highlight too. I see how much you've done. We've asked, you've answered, and I've mentioned this before, that I can see you attaching the contracts and you're putting in the timelines. It is extremely helpful to try to track all this. So thank you very much, and thank you, Dave, for all your work. And yeah, it's hard to keep track of where we're at, and it's just, this is really helpful. Thank you.
Didn't even say the best part.
Oh, no.
I don't want to steal your thunder. Do you want to share this number right here? Because Dave did a really good thing. You see, Dave over there found out that we could get these hot water items replaced for generically under 35 grand. But because he's a decent guy and wanting to make sure we were all being fiscally mindful, he went out and got quotes, even though technically he didn't have to, but he did. And some of these other places were coming in at $85,000 for the same work that he figured out how to take care of for under 35 grand. That was pretty awesome. Good job, my friend. There you go.
Yep.
I didn't want to steal Terry's thunder, but I felt something that awesome had to be shared. That being said, anything else? Okay, so I'm going to move that the Board of Education adjourn to closed session for purposes of contractual conversations. And it is 10:07. Do I hear a second? All those in favor? 10-minute break. Oh, go ahead. Well, that, you know what? That's my fault. I was reading through the action items. I didn't go back. That's my fault. I apologize. Oops. Yes.
Thank you for all your years of service here in Mokena. We're going to miss you terribly.
And he still came. You're a good man. We're going to miss you. Don't we need some substitute people to help out sooner or later? You know, I know, right? Hey, I hear there's opening in busing. Do you know how much fun the kids would see first day of school seeing you over there?
Are we doing it? No.
Hold on. We didn't. I jumped the gun because I was reading the action items and it's after 10 o'clock. So that was my fault. We're going to miss you. We're all going to wish you well. And thank you for helping our school for a long, long time. It's better than when you found it. Well, I know. Okay. For the good of Mokena, we wanted to say nice things to Mike. I know that the school is going to have a float in the 4th of July parade. And why don't you share that? Because you were emailing earlier about that.
That was going to be my good of Mokena, but I felt like we skipped, so I didn't want to
Oh,
go back.
that was my fault.
Yeah, so we are going to have a school district float in the parade for, we think, the first time, at least since Mike's been here. So look for us in the parade. We're hoping to be by the band, so we'll see where they put us. But look for several of us here on the table. We're getting together that week to put the float together, so we're looking forward to it. Yeah.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Anybody else for the good of Mokena?
Can I say something about
Absolutely.
The color run was awesome. So thanks to the PTA, it was a lot of fun. I know a lot of people here got color all over them. I avoided it as best I could. But it was a fun time. That is such a fun event. So many kids, so many people. And Kelly won the fastest adult, I think.
Really?
Oh, yeah. She
I saw you.
I love that.
She ran through that color. It was like a blur.
It's always the quiet one. She's like, yeah, I did it. Just look at me. I did it.
No.
No, the award is how many times it took to clean everything off.
It was amazing. So I just wanted to shout out to everybody and thank you to Kristen for finally getting somebody to put the float together. As I've been asking for years. I think it's such a great idea, but the year that I can't be there, you guys have it.
Are you sure you can't?
You know what? Let me just. I do. I said I wasn't going to say anything, but I really do appreciate all that Mokena has done for me. The students, the staff, the people that I've hired, the people that I've worked with. I did my best, and I hope it shows. And I know a lot of things will change over the next several years, but I hope that the things that I did made a difference. So I do appreciate all of you and all the people in Mokena. And I know it's very late, but if somebody's watching this still, no matter where I go or what I do, what am I going to say? I'll always bleed meteor green. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Well said.
Firecracker dance, Jim.
Oh, how do I follow? Yeah, firecracker dance. You're all invited. Yay. So Yes, the Firecracker Dance is the Lions Club one major fundraiser that they do. They're going to be having a fest this year. It's going to be over on Yunker Farm, and it's going to be a great time. And I've got tickets that I am free to give out to the people that are sitting around this table. I'm happy that I can just give you guys tickets if you want to go. I think it's a nice thing. I think there's a lot of families from our town that come, and I think it's nice that they see all of us out there in the community as well. And I think that that's a wonderful thing, because they turn around, they raise money to give it away, and they help out our students with vision and hearing problems. And there's a lot of people that have needs, and it's nice that people can step up and help them. So that is something nice. Thank you for reminding me, because it was a good thing to share. Okay. That being said, anybody else? Okay, so I'll do it for real this time. I'd like to move the Board of Education adjourn to closed session for purposes of employee and individual student matters and collective bargaining. It is 10:15. We're going to take a 10-minute break at 10:25. Let's get back here and get after it. And with any luck, we'll see. It's going to go past 11. Until then, thank you everybody at home for watching, and have a wonderful night.
I'm going to be soon.
Still
an aye. Everyone's going to have to sign that budget.